Hello, everyone. I'm Captain Logan. It's time for our how we felt about for Thunderbolts. We're gonna tell you what we thought of this movie. We're gonna give you our best thing, worst thing. We're gonna flip our signs, and then we'll do some spoiler talk right after that. So we'll keep it pretty non-spoiler at the beginning for folks that haven't had a chance to see this yet, because we are kinder than Marvel Studios. Once again, I'm Captain Logan. Right next to me is my son Jayson, and we've got Robert Buford Wild.
Hello.
And we've got the Day Ghost.
What's happening?
How's it going, guys?
That's pretty
good.
going.
Look how on time we are for this. Isn't that exciting? We don't always manage to get to these the very Monday right after the opening. So right out the gate, sometimes I lead with this. I want to. So we're doing Thunderbolts. I want to lay out box office for a second, because hilariously, I'm seeing some people very happy with the take with this, and some people calling it a bomb. And I don't really understand that. It's 160 worldwide. I think it did close to 80 domestically, which is like twice Ant-Man's opening. And Ant-Man's always kind of my litmus test with especially the more off the beaten path, arguably more B-list hero type MCU movies. If it can beat, and I know we've got like inflation and stuff, but if, especially in a climate where a lot of people are not as up on the MCU, and it doesn't have the consumer confidence it used to, anything well above Ant-Man looks pretty good to me, unless you're a like major A tier. So like regardless of what the movie was made for, like maybe it cost too much, and so that's not a great number for it. But I don't know what you guys think. Like, is this? It's so weird that now this is a matter of opinion. Is this movie bombing? I don't think it's bombing.
I think the issue and the reason why that's coming up is that I think, if I remember correctly, I think it opened a little bit under Cap 4. So it just depends on like how much the drop off is. Like if it holds steadier than that, and I imagine it will based on word of mouth, then probably not. But like it could also have a huge drop off like that did, and then it could potentially.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that means that people are jumping the gun saying that this early. Because I don't know if people were even calling Cap 4 a bomb until it had a gigantic steep drop the second weekend. I think we have to wait and see if that happens with this.
And I think that technically probably broke even, or at least got close to breaking even. I doubt they made like a profit off of that, and that's just based on the budget they said. I still don't believe them, but
yeah, you and I think they lost
right.
money on that movie, and if they did, they're not telling us, because with all the reshoots, they basically remade that movie. It's impossible to believe that they didn't lose some money on that. And this could have suffered a little more than we might realize. I need to look at the budget for this movie, but this
I think it's 180.
Okay. This may have suffered a little bit for the delays because of the writers in other strikes, right?
And COVID, like it goes back far enough. I listened to an interview with the actors, and they talked about how they were first delayed by COVID. So like they were working on it long enough that they were even hit by that too.
Wow, I didn't even realize that.
Which I guess isn't too surprising, given that like Black Widow and the Falcon Winter Soldier show were some of their first projects out the gate post Endgame. So it makes sense if this was always meant to follow those immediately, but instead it took, what, 4 years? But yeah, I think it's too soon to call this a bomb. We just, like Austin said, we have to see what kind of legs it has. And I don't know, it disassociating them from like context and everything, just like Captain America 4 Thunderbolts, like, well, obviously Captain America is going to do better opening weekend, and it's Captain America movie. We shouldn't be surprised that Thunderbolts came below that. And of course I know Captain America.
Yeah, even, it's a different Captain America, but at the same time, that still has that name on it. This has characters that are even kind of below, Falcon, well, with the exception of Bucky, but like the other characters, I don't know if you could say they were, huge players that people were like amped up to see. Like that's almost kind of part of the project is they pick characters that weren't really that.
Mhm.
And Marvel, I think like Feige clearly knows that, and that's the strategy with the name change. Is
Yeah.
put it out as what it's supposed to be titled first weekend, and then hope you can garner more interest in it with a name you recognize when you change it in the second weekend. And we can talk about that a little bit later. Personally, I don't think that's going to do them any favors. I think that could actually hurt it before it's going to help it.
Mhm.
And I really wish they just left enough alone with that. The asterisk is whatever. I thought that was much sillier until I saw the movie. Honestly, it's still a little gimmicky, but going all the way to then do this sort of like cute meta thing of now that the people that saw it opening weekend have seen it, we're gonna call it the thing that it becomes. Like, I really don't care for that, and I think the marketing is in some ways at odds with the movie we got, although in other ways it's the best marketing we've had for an MCU movie in years. Like the Wheatie boxes have been really fun. Like my theater had a gigantic Wheaties box, and it was fun to read all the labels and things on it. And Austin and I have been talking about how they for the first time in a long time had really creative posters that aren't just the same generic stock stuff to try to appeal to China that we always get with MCU movies. So it's really odd the kind of like bipolar nature of this whole project, like the ways in which it is typical MCU and the ways that it's not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Feel free to disagree with this, but this has been such a weird, polarizing year for the MCU so far, with Captain America being, to some, a failure, and others, let's say, disappointing, and Daredevil Born Again being very polarizing, hit or miss with people. Some love it, some hate it, but regardless, did not get huge ratings, did not get the ratings even we were expecting. If this had come out just a few months after Deadpool and Wolverine, and we were still riding that high after how big of a hit that movie was,
conversation right now.
I think this might have a better opening week.
That's a great point.
Personally.
And I also, Robert, really appreciate your point that and that's why I said jumping the gun. I think people are a little cynical, and obviously we've all, or at least Austin and I don't want to speak for Robert, but who's been maybe less so, but like we've been lately pretty down on the MCU with like notable exceptions, and I still think people are too cynical to look at the opening weekend this is having and go, look how terrible it's doing with a name like Thunderbolts, right? Like people don't know what that is, and it's a team of people that have mostly been in projects that folks didn't watch or didn't really care for that much. With the exception of Bucky, all of these characters are in things that were either polarizing, like stuff that Robert's talking about, like Captain America Winter Soldier, or Captain America Winter Soldier, Falcon Winter Soldier, or like Ant-Man and the Wasp with Ghost. Like these are intentionally characters picked from projects nobody cares about. 80 million domestically? Pretty good in my mind. I don't know why we're balking at that.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
And so, Robert, what a good point to say, well, yes, a movie with Captain America the title, you would expect to do better than that.
Right.
Yeah, well, and this happened to Guardians 3, too, where Ant-Man did really badly, and so suddenly all the projections for Guardians, like, shot down, and, it ended up, I think, overperforming what they expected it to, and had better legs than they were expecting it to. So that could happen here.
Well, I think and then we'll get into synopsis and get into the actual movie, but I just wanted to get a little context of just kind of the odd place we are with the MCU, and I know that's something that Austin's going to want to talk about a lot later, but I feel like the viewership is in the same place as Marvel Studios is themselves, where we all collectively cannot decide, even 36 movies in, if this is a studio or a franchise. When you're looking at the last movie that might not have anything to do with this, except they're in the same continuity and made in the same studio, and you're saying, well, because that didn't do well, this next one must do poorly. You're looking at it like everything is a sequel to everything else. Now, it's complicated because I do think with certain projects, the last thing that came out is going to give you some indication of how the next one is doing, or at least it's going to affect it in some way, right? These two movies, and this was not even really intended, and if only Brave New World was good, it would have been really neat. Brave New World and Thunderbolts are oddly connected, and like much more so than I really expected them to be. And so 3 months apart, we've got not a direct sequel to that movie, but something much closer than arguably, besides big event movies, we've really had that much. And so you look at, and also they're both direct sequels to Falcon and Winter Soldier, the TV show. So when Brave New World doesn't do very well, and it's critically not really liked, and it's kind of lambasted, yeah, that's gonna have some impact on Thunderbolts, which suggests that if this had come first, it might be doing better. And I still don't think 80 isn't anything to sneeze at.
Mm-hmm. Well, and this is also, I think I read the other day, the first new MCU franchise to be released in the May slot since like the first Avengers, I think. Just like on its own in the theaters, because I know Black Widow was, but it was also like a side release, or not side release. You know what I mean? Like on Disney Plus and in the theater. Mm-hmm. But so like you also have that too.
Yeah, and like we've had things like Captain Marvel, which would almost certainly not have been a billion-dollar movie if not for where that fell in the sequence, with people thinking that they absolutely had to have that to go to Endgame, and things like that. So like these are related and can affect each other's box office, of course, but I do think it's kind of ridiculous to go, well, the last one was not well attended, especially when you're looking at something like Guardians, which just feels so outside of this whole milieu in the first place. Like I have to keep reminding myself that even is part of Phase 5, and when I'm thinking about how I have felt about these last two phases, because I haven't liked very many of them, and it's oh by the way, Guardians is in there. You liked that movie? Oh yeah, that's right. But I don't think of that as part of this whole thing as much, because it's, just the thing Gunn's doing over here.
Well, in Phase 4, this has nothing to do with box office, but Phase 4 didn't even have an ending. We just arbitrarily Phase 5 started at some point, and now Fantastic Four is the start of Phase 6, which but that movie's the start of a phase, given where we're going, but still, it's like, no one can keep track of what even phase we're in anymore.
Yeah,
like
it's arbitrary.
Such a mess.
I only still refer to them because everybody else does, and so people will know what I'm talking about. But I only say Phase 4 and 5 to differentiate between the first three phases, which were mostly quite good, and then everything after Endgame.
Yeah.
With notable exceptions.
Plus, the phase thing is like part of the marketing to a degree with this one, where they made a big deal about how Sebastian Stan's the only one who's been in every one.
Oh,
okay. Or no, sorry, not the only one, but one of like 3 people that has.
I just don't understand starting a new phase when you're about to end the multiverse saga. That doesn't make any sense. So what, are we gonna have like 3 movies in total in that phase? Like I don't even understand that.
Well, to be fair, we were supposed to have Blade somewhere in there, but that's not happening.
Well, sure, but like, where's the next Spider-Man gonna fall? Because that's gonna be before.
That's like right after. It's in between. Yeah.
I don't know what else is gonna be in between that. Nothing else.
You're gonna have like 4 movies.
Wait.
There's like 2 unnamed unnamed projects, I think, that they have just on the schedule.
Yeah. Okay.
There's also a couple of shows still coming out. Wonder Man, Ironheart. I mean.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is I guess they feel like in counting all of that stuff, they've got it more bulked up. But like, I don't care about the Disney Plus shows almost ever now. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into this. Sorry about the lengthy preamble, but we got into that background a little bit. Let's start talking about Thunderbolts asterisk. Everybody at this point knows what the asterisk is. It's funny, I keep like trying not to spoil that, but like Marvel did. like today, making like a gigantic, to the point where they're changing billboards. Did you guys see that? I saw a picture
Yep.
of like painters changing billboards.
There's like a video they released of Sebastian Stan changing a billboard.
Really?
There's one of like all the cast at like an event, but then there's also a video of just him like just on a street in California, like ripping the title off.
That's amazing.
It's very weird.
I want to say thanks to the audience for being here with us tonight. We've got a nice crowd here. If you want to make sure that we discuss any particular aspect of the movie, you can help drive the conversation by leaving comments. And if you want to try to get your comment read, you can aim it at Jayson, who's going to be modding for us. So at Jayson or at Video Game Secrets. And you can also leave a super chat, which will absolutely guarantee that we talk about whatever piece of this you want us to. Try to keep the spoilers, especially in super chats, until we get to the spoiler section, and we'll try not to take too long before we get there. Going round robin with our sign flips. Austin, would you give us a brief synopsis or setup for what happens in Thunderbolts asterisk?
Yes, so Thunderbolts, aka Thunderbolts and the Depressing Void of One Century, named Bob. This is a film about 5 or 6 characters nobody cares about coming together. They're sent by Elaine from Seinfeld to kill each other because she is being taken down by the government, so she wants to clean her loose ends. So we have new Black Widow, U.S. Agent, Ghost, Taskmaster. I hit all of them, right? Yeah, no, I think that's it.
John Walker.
Yeah, no, U.S. Agent. I said him.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. No, for some reason I was like, I feel like I'm missing somebody.
And we need to say U.S. Agent as often as possible in this review, because the movie never says it, and that makes me kind of sad.
Even the toys don't. It's just John Walker. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, the Funko Pops say John Walker. John F. Walker, even.
My assumption with the ending is that he would be U.S. Agent moving forward, but okay, interesting. Yeah, so these people are sent to kill each other to clean up her loose ends. There they meet Bob, who is part of the Sentry Project, and then that kind of blows up. And on top of that, we have extra shenanigans where Bucky is a senator and he's trying to take down.
He's a congressman.
Oh, sorry, congressman. Sorry, I'm foreign, Cap. Give me a frickin' bone here.
No, the difference between those two things is very important in this movie, Austin. It's not at all. It matters not at all. Go ahead. No, honestly, I thought he was a senator in Brave New World, and then when he came in here and called him a congressman, I was like, I forgot that. I thought he was a senator.
Yeah, so he's going to do his thing, and he's going to get caught up with the Thunderbolts, and then you also have the Red Guardian, who is maybe the funniest Marvel adaptation. I don't know if you guys have had this thought, but I love that Black Widow's abusive ex-husband from the comics is like the funny, quirky dad guy in the MCU. That's really funny. But he gets caught up in things too while trying to interact with his daughter, and
they made him
he gets caught up in this.
I never thought of it until you said that, Austin. They made him like Hit Girl's dad, but less disturbing.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. And that's just really funny. Like in the comics, he was Natasha's abusive ex-husband.
I didn't know that. I knew nothing about that character whatsoever. And between Black Widow and now, I've never bothered to look that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen it like, I've never actually read him in a comic, but like I've seen him referenced in comics where they talk about it.
I thought he was kind of the standout in the Black Widow movie, but I thought the team dynamic and that whole thing was just odd and unfortunate, because I wanted a solo kind of character piece for Black Widow. So like I liked him, but I didn't want him stealing scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's in a movie where it's okay for him to steal scenes.
Well, and this is, I just kind of have this with Natasha in the MCU, but like I feel like she kind of gets overshadowed by a lot of the characters in that movie, and not even so much that they get more screen time than her, because I do feel like we're with her through most of that movie. I just don't find her character interesting. like instantly, I think Yelena is kind of what I wanted from Black Widow in the first place.
Same here. All the way down to she's allowed to have a Russian accent and it never diminishes, like with Wanda. Have you noticed the sheer number of characters in the MCU that either have Russian accents or ought to?
I've never thought about it like that, but I guess there's a few.
I thought of that today after seeing this again. I was like, oh, there's a lot of Russian characters in the MCU, and they're really gun shy about it at first, and now we just have all these characters with Russian accents.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of crazy that 2 of the 6 Thunderbolts have really thick Russian accents, and I get like they're related, like they're father and daughter, but early on in the MCU, we were really worried about that for some reason, or we maybe had actors that didn't want to do it, or we thought that it was too thick, and so the audiences wouldn't understand it. I kind of think it was more the former, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. We'll also probably get Colossus and Magic in the X-Men at some point.
Yeah, that's true. There's just going to be... The Russians are taking over the MCU, you guys. Anyway, moving right along. Austin, any more explanation of this movie we need to do?
I mean,
I think you covered it.
if you know anything about the Sentry, then the Void is coming, and I mean that's all throughout the trailers. So, yeah.
Yeah,
this movie also sums itself up perfectly in like the first line of dialogue in the movie, and it's one of the weirdest things. So, like 3 weeks ago, they released that bit of her jumping off the building as a clip, and it was like the first clip of the movie that they put out. And I watched it, and I was like, I don't think I've ever seen a movie release a clip that like tells me everything that the movie is going to be about thematically in like 20 seconds, like to the point where I feel like I've seen the movie already. It's really weird.
I mean, to be fair, it's also the simplest and tightest thematically with an MCU movie we've had in a long time. Like,
yeah, I'm not even criticizing the movie for that. I just think that's interesting.
I'm just saying that's so easy to do, even on accident, when you're advertising this movie, because you tell us anything and you kind of tell us everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you get into the like mental health stuff and the emptiness and the nihilism and all of that. There's a bunch of stuff I want to ask you guys, but we'll get into sign flips. Let me read this super chat first. Okay, great. $5 super chat. Who's your favorite Thunderbolt, and why is it Taskmaster? That's great super chat.
Well, Taskmaster I think is cool because she can like copy other people's things, so it's like really cool, especially when the Void becomes the Void and can like shadow people. Like Taskmaster can then see that and then do that, and I just thought that was really cool.
I think Taskmaster's cool because she's the only character in anything I've ever seen that is a full-blown terrorist, but we're not allowed to call her a terrorist.
Have you seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
that was my joke.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Isn't that her?
No, that is a different character. She might die in that show. I don't remember. I hope she did.
I thought that was Taskmaster. Where's Taskmaster?
Taskmaster is only Black Widow.
Yeah, Taskmaster is like the James Bond henchman of the Black Widow movie. You're thinking of the Flag Smashers.
Is it the... It's not the Tinkerer, is it? No.
No, Tinker's and Spider-Man. You're thinking of the Flag Smashers are the ones in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, but her... Okay, but they're led by a woman that I thought was this person.
Yeah, I don't think she has like a supervillain name outside of that.
I've seen Black Widow one time, and I've seen Falcon Winter Soldier one time, and I thought those were the same character. Okay, well, then there was this whole kind of meta joke I thought it was doing in killing her because nobody liked her in that show that it's not doing, because that's not who that is. Anyway. But this is how not invested I am in this universe now. You guys can't even give me much crap for this.
This is like when I watched Infinity War with my mom, and she was like very insistent that it was at Proxima Midnight. The one Thanos henchman was Hela, Like to the point where I was like, "That's not who that is." It's like, no, it is. Look at the movie. That is who that is. That's too
Yeah,
funny.
but with this, it's just because none of this is memorable to me. So anyway,
I mean, I don't blame you.
I was gonna say I'm not even as embarrassed about this as I would be if this was stuff that
No,
I or very many other people cared about at this point.
I think her name is like Carly or something.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
And I think she dies, but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
Oh, she
yeah, she
does
does.
die because Sam Wilson is like, "This is the body of a hero."
Yeah,
or
no.
whatever.
Now that
I
you
don't
say
know.
that, I remember that.
She died a murder.
Well, I'm glad we got that out of the way quickly because I would have had some completely inaccurate dumb things to say. Let's do sign flips. I'll just go cower in my shame pocket dimension over here. Let's
You're just reliving this moment over and over in the void.
yeah, exactly. Jason, you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start.
Okay, we'll let Jason do his best thing, worst thing, sign flip first, and then we'll go to you guys before we go to B. Go ahead, Jason.
So I don't know. I might have the most interesting watch of this because I had nothing going in. I didn't care at all because I have not seen Black Widow. I have not seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I saw Ant-Man and the Wasp once, and I just had nothing to go off of. So I was kind of scared because I didn't think I would really know anything that was going on in this movie.
Were you worried you couldn't follow it?
Yeah, like at all. But I don't know. I went to the theater and then I came out and I actually liked it. So that's good. So yeah, I am flipping green, the first green sign flip of the night. It's a movie, and like it's the thing is, it's not only a movie, but like it's a solid movie. Like it's got a pretty good script, I thought. It's got some good direction. It's got some like actual like action stuff that like you don't see in Marvel movies. Like it's got some like they put a building on fire and stuff like that, and there are some crazy stunts and like
And,
that's
and
what
practical stuff, like a
yeah.
lot of practical stuff.
and like you should have that more in movies. And I think my big thing just overall with this piece with this movie is that I think I would still like it when not comparing it to recent MCU stuff. And I think that says a lot because
But did it feel a lot better after Brave New World?
it did.
Yeah.
But also trying not to compare it to Brave New World and other things that have come out in the past like 4 years, it's actually like it's still a solid movie. And I think you'll probably talk about this more, but it should have come out right after Endgame, or pretty close after. I don't know. It just kind of brought me back to like the first or like the MCU that I grew up with, because
Yeah,
I
sure.
kind of grew up with the like Infinity War, Far From Home, Endgame, that side of MCU, like Phase 3 MCU. And so it kind of brought me back to that, and that was cool. So I would say best thing is just...
Do you mean like quality of storytelling?
Yeah, and just quality of just, yeah, mostly storytelling and character work, and just I would say my best thing
Well,
is,
you're talking about big screen spectacle.
yeah, stuff like that. And I actually like was impressed with how it's directed. In places like it actually feels like an action movie, and it feels like a superhero movie, and that's what superhero movies should feel like. So like, why don't we do that every time? I would say my best thing is it creates a really good balance between comedy and drama, I think, which is how a movie should be. This movie made me laugh sometimes, and it made me almost cry sometimes, and that's what I like. In a script and in a movie, and it's just a solid piece because of that. It definitely leans more on the comedy side because it's a comedic movie, and I think a lot of the jokes I laughed at. There are a couple things that I think maybe I only saw it once, but there are a couple jokes that I think maybe went on for too long, but maybe it doesn't feel like that on a second watch. I think this movie might be a very rewatchable movie, which I'm not sure, but that's something that has something at least I want to watch it again. Like, that's another thing. I would say my worst thing is, and I think at least you have something similar. My worst thing is the ending, because like the setup of the ending, I thought it was just kind of, and it goes into the asterisk, and the setup of the ending is fine. I'm like, oh, that's cute, and then they go into it so, like, way too hard, and the marketing overall of this movie is not good. I don't like it. So some of it, like that, like the Wheaties box was cool, but the stuff that they did like after the movie first came out was weird.
I was gonna say, I don't think
like
overall it's bad.
Yeah.
I think they've made one giant mistake,
But there's one
that they've been setting up this whole time.
there's one specific
I wish they
thing-
never paid that off.
There's
but-
one specific thing that I think they're pushing too hard, and I can elaborate when we get into spoilers.
Yeah.
But I think that was my big problem with this movie. Was it's a good superhero movie, and it's a good team movie. Like, it's a good just superhero team movie. But it has this thing that they keep pushing harder than the movie itself, and it's like, I don't know, it's just a title. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, I overall, like, actually really enjoyed it, and it may be one of my favorite, one of the best superhero movies I've seen in a while.
Before I go to Austin, how does it? Because I thought you might bring this up, and I don't know if you've given much thought to this, but obviously, it looked in marketing like it was MCU's attempt at a Suicide Squad. Mm-hmm. How does it compare to you to the Suicide Squad, which I know is one of your favorite movies?
It didn't remind me of it ever through the movie. I was like, I wasn't even thinking of it.
To its credit.
Yeah. It, like, going in, I was like, oh, this is just gonna be the Suicide Squad, but MCU. And I honestly don't think it is. You know, there are some similarities where if I was actually looking for it, I would be like, oh yeah, and this. But while watching it, I didn't have it at all. Which,
yeah, I mean,
I think is nice.
And obvious parallels just from the word go, right? I mean,
Yes.
You've got a band of villains or anti-heroes that don't go together in the first place.
Yeah.
That it's hard to call superheroes who some of them are mercenaries
And mostly characters that no one cares about.
Yeah, and they're like BC list kinds of characters.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason the question is even brought up, because, you know, on the outside it really feels like it might be kind of a knockoff, but I don't think it is.
The big thing it's got to be careful to avoid is too many direct comparisons and looking like carbon copies of both. I want to say the Suicide Squad because that's the good one, but Suicide Squad as a thing, and Guardians, because Marvel has already had its team of misfit antihero franchise, not just movie, but franchise at this point.
Yeah.
Let's go to Austin.
Well, and just to add on to that too, I think you can kind of break like a lot of the beats down into how it's a very similar movie to the 2016 Suicide Squad.
Mhm.
But my biggest issue with the 2016 Suicide Squad movie has always been it's not a Suicide Squad movie.
Right.
Uh, and I've never been able to place it until now, but it's that movie is more in line with what a Thunderbolts premise should be than it is with Suicide Squad. And like not entirely, but closer to what actual Suicide Squad is, which is why this and the Gun movie don't really have anything in common. But yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Is that just because Thunderbolts wants to be heroes in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. Like that is a big part of it. Is that the Thunderbolts are, like our main heroes aren't around. These villains are gonna like redeem themselves and become heroes. Suicide Squad as a premise is the U.S. government is using criminals to like deal with their like black ops missions
And forcing them to do it.
Mm.
But they're
Yeah.
not superheroes at the end of the day.
Mm. Yeah, exactly.
Because that was the big thing that I thought set this apart from both the Suicide Squad and Guardians, just as an idea, is that these are people, most of whom would like to be heroes in the first place, in some way, shape, or form. And some of them are more altruistic than others. Like you get characters like U.S. Agent who would like to be seen as a superhero, but he doesn't do anything particularly heroic. And with Guardians, they kind of fall into being heroes, and when you get to the end of the movie, we get the bit of both line suggesting that they are fine being whatever they want to be at any point. And then the Suicide Squad is like they're maybe more heroic by the end than they would be in comics, but they're still not full on superheroes by the end. Like they do kind of save the world, but that's not exactly what they're about in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Like it's more
Yeah,
about
and I mean,
finding each other as a as a group of friends before it's about like actually saving anybody.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And like the ways in which this and that the Air movie are similar is you have like a female person in the government that like has this issue they're trying to clean up, so they put together. Or, well, I guess they don't. She doesn't put together the team here, but is like part of how we get a team to deal with it, and it's all around a person that's like technically part of the team, possibly, but like they also have, like a dark side within them that like breaks out. It's like there is similarities to that movie in terms of stuff like that.
No, you're right.
And what?
DeFontaine is like a complete antithesis to Amanda Waller. And if Amanda Waller was was in the government and had her mitts on the CIA, she would like eliminate this person immediately. Like she would shoot her in the head as soon as she had any possible opportunity.
And both movies have David Harbour.
Yep.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, David Harbour is like just one of the other government people.
Oh,
That's the Suicide Squad.
he's the guy he's in the trailer who says like if Superman ever ripped the roof off the White House, who would have stopped him? Like he's from that infamous scene. That's David Harbour.
Oh,
And he's like that character is such an important part to that to the Ostrander run, and none of that's in that movie.
But like
That's
Austin just
hilarious.
explained, there is a lot of plot overlap with this in 2016 Suicide Squad. But to that point, it's like he said, that movie is not a good Suicide Squad adaptation.
Mhm. Yeah, it's always been my biggest issue with it is that's not a Suicide Squad movie, like at all.
Well, and I didn't think about this until you said that, Austin. But like, and I kept comparing it in my head to that movie too. But DeFontaine is cleaning up her own mess in exactly the same way Waller is. Not exactly the same way, but she is trying to clean her. Actually, in the opposite, in that she's trying to get all these people to kill each other to clean up her mess. And Waller is under a false pretense trying to put the team together. But anyway, Austin, give us your overall thoughts.
Sorry, I went off on like a whole thing.
Oh, that's all right. I helped you go off on a whole thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I feel like at this point I'm feeling very good about like my inner radar when it comes to Marvel. Like we got the trailer for this and Brave New World at the same time, and I was like, something is just off about Brave New World. But Thunderbolts looks great, and when they announced it, I rolled my eyes like everyone else did, and went, "Who cares about this as a team?" And then like the Daredevil trailer came out, and I was like, "This also doesn't look very good." And I don't know. I'm feeling very good right now because I liked this movie a lot. I thought it was really good, and it's so weird. So I don't know, like about like a month and a half ago, I started reading like the original Thunderbolts run, and we're in such a weird place now for the MCU where like it almost feels like they've made choices as they've gone along that have now like cannibalized things that they can do. So this is not like a straight adaptation of Thunderbolts, but it's more like they took that premise and they said, okay, how do we take that premise and how do we do it in our world and how do we do it with like the characters that we have already? Uh, this was something I was going to bring up in the rewind because we were doing Civil War. Like you have Zemo, and the way they reinvent Zemo,
Quick plug, we're doing
you
that
have
Thursday, by the way, everybody.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And the way they reinvent Zemo is in a way that you couldn't naturally have him build his own super team because he's like very opposed to that. You'd have to like completely rewrite the character that they made. So there's just certain things like that where it's like, oh, well, you can't really do that book now because you've already done things that now kind of negate what you need to do to make a real Thunderbolts movie. And I think that's very fascinating. So this movie, I've been referring to as almost like a thematic adaptation of Thunderbolts, in that it's like they took specific ideas and like certain characters and just slapped new people onto them, and I think it's very fascinating. But as for my best and worst thing, so my best thing I will give to Florence Pugh. I think she's like amazing in this movie. I really liked her in Black Widow, but she's also kind of left with some like awkward writing here and there that I think she takes and just kind of works through. Like she's like, like I'm still likable, even though some of the stuff's not great. Here, she just gets to like hit the ball running. And this movie takes like every issue I have with Black Widow, because this movie's basically Black Widow too. And it takes every issue I have with that movie and improves on it, and takes everything I liked about that movie and amplifies it. And I mean, that's, as we say, what all good sequels should do. But like Jayson brought up the practical stuff, and I always thought that was one of the biggest issues with Black Widow, is that they're trying to make a James Bond movie, but they're not doing any of that, and it's just very awkward. As for worst things, so my actual worst thing is the after credit scene, but we'll get into that later. So for now, I'll just say I still don't really like Elaine, whatever that character's name is. I like her more here, but like I don't know. I'm still not really digging that character. And yeah.
Somebody mentioned loose ends earlier, and I was going to say, well, at least that's one we've kind of tied up, because she just kept showing up in things, and I kept going, who cares? And, like, when are we going to finally do something with this character? But I don't really want us to do anything with this character, because I'm finding her kind of irritating. And she finally has a reason to exist, which is a nice thing I can say about that character in this, Austin.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, obviously, because I love Zemo, that she's the one that has to take the Zemo role.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, it's whatever.
Well, because they already wasted him in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yes, and I think you maybe could have found some sort of way to finagle that off of that show, but they didn't. So
yeah,
it's whatever. You
not-
know what though? You could have had something where he was maybe attached to her in some way, but
we're gonna say
Not-
like I said, it's so different. Go ahead, Robert. Sorry.
Not to rewrite the movie, but could you have reworked the setup in a way to have Zemo tricking all these people to show up there to kill each other? So it's the opposite of the comic, where he's not forming a team, he's trying to get all these people here to kill each other. So if you did give him kind of the Elaine role. Maybe that could have worked.
And that might have looked
Yeah,
like a
I
double beat
think
from
so.
Civil War, but then it might be fun if that's just what this guy does.
Hmm.
It's also a different movie in that Zemo is probably your main villain in that version.
But also to Cap's point, for before I forget about it, how weird is it that we got the two MCU movies we got back to back are the leftover movies where we're tying up loose ends? Have you any of you thought about that yet? With Captain America being Incredible Hulk 2,
Yeah.
and now this, like, both of these movies back to back are just all the loose threads.
And this is more
We're
of a
trying to
Captain
get back
America
to-
movie than Captain America. Just saying.
Well, yeah, because 3 of your 6 team members at the end are basically Captain Americas. That's a whole thing I want to talk about later, because that is hilarious to me. But yeah, no, Robert, I did have that thought, and it's really awkward, because and this is one of the things that makes this movie less awkward and more watchable than Brave New World, but also because, like, it's thoughtfully written. Like, that's a big difference. But with not to give too much away on my end, but like with Brave New World, it's weirdly a sequel to Incredible Hulk of all things, without that character there at all, and everything this is a sequel to, of which there are many. Like, Brave New World, it was mostly just Incredible Hulk stuff, which is really weird. And then some Falcon Winter Soldier, of course, because of just like following up Sam Wilson in that in general, but like a lot more Incredible Hulk stuff. But this is a sequel to like 3 different things, and they're all things that those characters are actually in. You know, because like it follows up Black Widow a lot, and it follows up Falcon and Winter Soldier a lot, and it follows and even. In some ways, I feel like it's kind of a follow up to Winter Soldier the movie, and like there's a lot of different things that it's tying up, like Robert's saying, but those characters are all there. And then the weird thing is they end up being companion pieces. This in Brave New World, which sucks because that movie sucks. And both of them are about super soldiers. Like, we have really spent the super soldier idea by this point. Like, it's kind of time to move past all of that. Like, we could have characters that are super soldiers, because, like, there are several of those now, but I think it's probably high time to finally hang up governments or corporations or private entities, whoever it is, trying to perfect the super soldier formula. I think we've beaten that dead horse by this point. Like, 15 years in, we've done that a lot.
Yeah, and we get one. This isn't really a big spoiler. We get one direct reference to that movie about like the president just turned into a red Hulk monster, and that's crazy. Also, the president's name is Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, and I was getting that joke to come up at some point in this movie.
Well, especially because
Thunderbolts.
he's connected to this team in the comics and was originally supposed to be in this movie. And when Harrison Ford was cast, it was originally announced that he was cast for both, and then they ended up writing him out, out of this, or never actually putting him in the script or whatever. But yeah, he's supposed to be connected to this, and he's just not.
Maybe they took him out or reworked it if this movie was supposed to come out before Brave New World. I wonder if that's what happened.
Yeah, I'm really not sure.
I'm not sure.
Hey, Robert, before we get to your sign flip, and sorry this is taking as long as it is, but let's go ahead and go through the super chats we have so far, just to keep up on that.
Sure.
If you could read those real quick, because none of them are super spoilery yet. I don't think. We've got like 3, so we'll hit those real quick and then go to Robert.
Yes. Yeah. One of them is kind of a spoiler thing.
Okay,
So-
we can save it for after mine, I guess, then.
Yeah. But we have a $2 super chat from Pros and Cons Guy. Do you consider them the B-Vengers?
No.
But now I just want.
But
Oh, go ahead.
but that's related to my worst thing, so I'll elaborate on that when we get there. But no, that's too cutesy, and I'm not gonna say that.
I want a B movie sequel that is the B Vengers. I think that would be wonderful.
Also, especially since in that super chat, he had a space between B and Avengers. So he had like the B Vengers.
Jayson, you can go ahead and read that other one. It's not too big of a spoiler.
Okay. We have a super chat from One Reply. Sorry to ask this now. I'm heading out. You can save it for later. But keeping John's taco was weirdly perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a minor spoiler, but his U.S. agent's shield gets bent over, and he calls it a taco, and then he's stuck with it through the rest of the movie. And I thought
He's talking specifically about the post-credit scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm just saying, I thought it was
Oh,
delightful
yeah.
that he had it all the way through, and he still has it at the end.
I didn't think it made any sense, and I thought it was a joke that just went on for too long.
Oh, okay.
I thought it worked up until the
Okay, he
after-credit
probably should have it ironed out by the end credits.
And I was like,
scene. That's
okay,
fair.
stop. Cause like, what if that goes on through Doomsday?
I thought it was funny.
No, so that just like the joke went on too long, made me laugh because he just like says it in passing. But I guess just you mean the fact that he just has it like that through all of it. Okay,
That's
that's
fair.
fair. I
think
don't
it's
understand
funny.
why he has that in the post-credit scene. I would have changed that, but
I think it's funny when he says it, when he's like, but how am I supposed to fight him with a taco? But then, like, in the after credit scene, I don't know.
Yeah, the only way it works is if for some reason he is in love with that particular shield, and even though it's bent over, he still insists on using it, like it's, Lucille to Negan or something. And it's not that because he complains that he can't use it when it's a taco. John just put in a $5 super chat. If you'll read that real quick, and then we'll go to Robert.
Yeah. $5 super chat from John.
Thanks,
Hello, John. Look, I'm not saying it's great.
We don't know this John necessarily.
Yeah,
this is
not
not
necessarily.
subject John. This
No,
is
this
just
is
some
just
guy
John.
named John. This could be U.S. agent.
It could be John F. Walker. John put in a super chat, and he says, look, I'm not saying it's great, but it's the first MCU film in years I could see myself rewatching. Not saying I will, but still, lol.
That is high praise. That's way
And
way
that's
up
what I
there.
said.
Upper echelon.
put that on the box.
Put that on the Wheaties
John
box.
just said, hi, I'm John.
Hi, I'm John.
Hi, John. Ren Davis says that it's John Wick. Okay, Robert, sorry for the delay. I've delayed your sign flip as much as they delayed Thunderbolts. Say about that. What?
It's becoming like as much as Blade.
Robert sign flip asterisk.
Robert's, what say you, sir?
Where do I land on this movie? So I got a green for Winter Soldier because I don't know, Bucky's in it, and red for Black Widow, which this is kind of a sequel to. So like
Because of the red room. It's not the blue room, Austin.
I didn't say it was the blue room.
No,
Some guy in my theater said it was
No,
the
I know.
blue
I just
room.
said your name because you're the only person here who knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, they had a funny like trivia thing at Austin's theater where they said what room was Black Widow in, and it was like red room, blue room, and it was like different colors.
Yes, in the green room, and the guy behind me was like, "It's the blue room," like really excitedly. And I love that he was that confident about being wrong.
And that's
Oh, that's
and
amazing.
it's always funny when it's such a softball question like that too. Like if you've seen the movie at all, and also you don't have to have seen Black Widow. This goes all the way back. That's an Avengers question. Robert, I'm so sorry. It is Blade at this point.
No, it is Blade.
It
Yeah.
is, yeah.
We'll get to his after Secret Wars at some point, in like the not too distant future.
No, if you kicked me from the chat, then I'd actually be Blade if I just disappeared.
Look, that ain't never gonna happen. There's only one Robert. Sorry, Robert. Go ahead,
Yeah.
buddy.
Mhm. Well, I am feeling this movie. Give it a green. I really enjoyed it. Like Austin, I feel very vindicated because ever since the first trailer came out, I was like, this looks fun. I like most of these characters. This could be a good time. This looks like a solid movie. And everyone else here who shall remain nameless was like, nah, man, Captain America Brave New World. That's going to be way better. And nope. But I enjoyed
I
this
feel a little
movie.
thrown into the limousine right now. I just
Yeah, that's yeah.
This time, Cap, you like Lost World, while
I think
Robert
I
and I
said
are on the
exactly
correct
those
side.
words.
So
too,
I'm
on a screen.
gonna defend myself slightly for a second and say that I was hoping beyond hope that Brave New World was good because I liked the way they were advertising it, and if it was the movie they were advertising, I wanted to see that movie. I didn't trust it, but when they flipped writers, I thought there was a chance because I didn't believe it at all. I didn't believe in it at all when it was the guys that made Falcon Winter Soldier, and then I think they switched writers, and I thought there was a chance. And then with this, I just didn't care. It was more than anything. Although I didn't think anything in that first trailer was especially funny, and I thought it was just going to be the same bland MCU humor we've had forever. So to be fair, I did call that wrong. But I thought the trailers got better. So, like, I was more curious about it after that. But I also, just premise-wise, like, I just wasn't interested in
Also,
it.
Brave New World had a really good trailer.
I think it did. But it does. It's a
For
moot
such a
point now
bad
because it was
movie.
awful. Anyway, go ahead. Robert.
I plead the fifth.
Yeah, so for my best thing, I'm not gonna go with Florence Pugh since I figured somebody else here would say it. Yelena, she's great. Really smart that she's really our protagonist. She's wonderful in this movie. My best thing is gonna be Wyatt Russell as John Walker. I loved him in this movie. He's a terrible person, and I love him. And I just really like Wyatt Russell in this role. He doesn't get a ton of development, and I really like Wyatt Russell as an actor, so he does the best with what he's given. But and when I was a kid, I had a U.S. Agent action figure, and I thought he looked cool. So
So
just
did
seeing U.S.
I!
Agent on the big screen,
What?
I
and
wonder
it's
if you had the
just-
same one I did.
it's
I
just
had
a repaint of the Captain America figure.
yes,
It's the same
so-
figure.
Sorry.
That's
I'm,
him in Marvel vs. Capcom as well. He's like a secret character.
he's just a reskin. No, sorry, I'm bonding with Robert here because we don't have anything else in common, so this is exciting.
It's the one thing you got.
Yeah.
So I had Robert.
What do you mean?
I had,
5 seconds.
and I think that might have been from the same line. I had a U.S. agent. These were two characters that I knew nothing about.
Same.
I had a U.S. agent and I had a Deathlock. And I thought they both looked kick-ass, but I had no idea what they were. I was like, oh, look, there's this really dark, scary Captain America. I bet he's like the opposite of Captain America. And then he is. But that's kind of
But in a
obvious
different
just
way.
looking at him. Anyway, that's so exciting. I don't think I still have them.
Wyatt Russell was like this close to being my favorite thing, and then I went, you know what? No one said Florence Pugh, so I'm just gonna throw it out there because it has to be said.
You mean I
but-
didn't say Florence Pugh? I was the only person that went before you.
Yeah. We had so much preamble between both of ours. I was like, I don't know. There's a bunch of people are talking. We're all throwing stuff out.
We're already at an hour. We haven't even finished the sign flips.
You haven't even gotten through Robert's.
And we never will. Good, Robert.
So
Shut up,
also,
everybody.
but to silver point that Austin just said, my worst thing also would probably be the after credit scene, but I figured other people would say that. So my worst thing is just it's Taskmaster, just everything about Taskmaster, and we'll get more to that in spoilers. So that's my worst thing. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. Definitely feeling it. It's not so great on a curve, but it's like if this came out in phase 2 or phase 3, like I don't know where it would rank. I wouldn't think of this as being one of my favorites, but in phase 4 and 5 it's like a masterpiece. So it's just in the context of what's coming out.
Everything's
But I found it a
relative,
really
man.
enjoyable movie.
It's really hard not to grade on a curve, right? Like, just because your enjoyment is impacted, or at least mine is, by what we've had recently. And when your standards are kind of in the floor, you really perk up when you're reminded at all of the, engaging cinematic flair and grace that these movies used to have.
Hmm. And to what you guys were talking about earlier with, like, is this Marvel's Suicide Squad? I don't know if I really saw that in the marketing. I just feel like that's what the internet decided this movie was and how everyone's been talking about it for years. And that's really not what this movie is. I appreciate it for that. But if you go in expecting Marvel's Suicide Squad, I think you're going to be disappointed, even though we've talked about, like, the plot beats that are very similar to Suicide Squad 2016. This is much more akin to the Guardians movies, just thematically and the actual
Yes,
meat of the story.
but
These characters.
I do think that first trailer was very Suicide Squad-y.
Another connection is that they both heavily used a Queen track in their marketing, except the use of Bohemian Rhapsody is like baffling in Suicide Squad. It's like in the complete worst part for it to be. Like, it makes no sense. Under Pressure should have been in this movie, and it's not actually. But I do think it's a very fitting song to be associated with this movie. But anyways, Robert, go ahead.
Robert, do you have anything else?
No, is it?
I thought he was done.
I was going to say, you haven't had your worst thing. I completely forgot that you did say a worst thing.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of fitting that you forgot what my worst thing was. So.
Yeah.
Austin, I appreciated...
Who were you again?
I appreciated that this didn't do a bunch of needle drops just to separate it from Guardians.
Mm.
I do appreciate that as well. But I think you could have played Under Pressure over the credits.
Oh, sure, yeah, absolutely. I'm not arguing with you when I say that. You just reminded me of that point. Because I kind of expected it to do a bunch of incidental music, and it was kind of nice that it didn't. Because the score it actually uses is pretty atmospheric, and I appreciated it, paid a lot more attention to it on a second viewing. I went and saw it again today, and
I liked all the jazz stuff.
Oh yeah,
I liked all the comedic part.
But there's some nice foreboding stuff in it. So I'll do my sign flip real quick, and then we'll do these super chats. Yeah, what's up, Robert?
I just want to throw out another quick positive, something at the top of this movie. Remember how in Brave New World, one thing we complained about was like that really cutesy Marvel Studios logo up front, like serious, and it's just the logo. Because they're making a serious. Do you remember this at all, or is this all?
Yeah.
Forgot. Okay. Here we also did something different with the Marvel Studios logo, but I thought it was actually cool. I wonder how indicative.
It was such a cool Marvel logo.
I was half paying attention to it just because I'm so used to it, and I was like, "Oh wait, it's different." So I was like, "Austin, like, was that like actual comic art? Like, did you?"
Yes, and it was all Thunder. It was all stuff connected to like Thunderbolts and the other characters in this movie. So when it popped up, I was like, "Oh my god, this is so exciting!" And then it slowly like blacked out, and I was like, "Oh." And I was like, "Oh, that was so effective."
Well,
I just wanted to mention that before I forgot it.
I didn't know that was setting up anything, and then on a second viewing, knowing about the void, I'm like, that's kind of cool, and it's clever in not an obnoxiously cutesy way. Then you get to the credits and the after credits, and suddenly you're reminded of the obnoxious house style we've had all along, and we're just right back to that again. So I'm flipping green, which will not surprise everyone the way I've been talking about this, but I also was feeling it, and I went to see it again partly because there were details that I felt like weren't sticking with me, which is not a slight against the movie. Like, I'm not saying it's a horribly unmemorable movie. I don't know if it was just the weekend I had or what, but I was like, I gotta give this another watch. And seeing it again, I kind of realized why that was nagging at me. And what I was gonna say, I also just went again because I enjoyed it, and it's been a while since I've really been itching to actually sit through one of these again, which was just kind of a nice feeling. And looking at it again, I went, oh, this is one of those, it really wants you to see it twice kinds of movies. And not in that it's super complicated, because it really isn't, but there's a lot of really nice foreshadowing and setup stuff that you only pick up on a second viewing, and it's just really tightly woven like that. Austin was spot on when he said we've got a line that opens the movie that establishes everything the thing is about thematically. You get the word void in that first scene with in unrelated to that villainous character voiceover from Yelena, and it's perfect. Uh,
Yeah, and the first action scene too, because she like comes down and then she goes into a hallway and fights a bunch of guards. Sorry, I can't speak. And the camera like goes up above them, and like all their shadows like become much more apparent, and you're like watching the shadows fight. So like that's another part of it too. Like right off the bat, we're like really hitting home that kind of symbolism.
yeah, there's just a bunch of that stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, best thing, worst thing, real quick. My favorite thing, I'm gonna go a lot broader than you guys and just say tonal balance. I was really impressed with how dark and uh, sometimes really serious and just for adults this movie is. While also being kind of a straight up comedy. And I've always given Guardians a lot of credit for being able to strike that balance, and this does it in a real different way from that. Almost like the scales are tipped slightly more in the dark spy thriller direction with this, where with Guardians, especially the first one, I feel like the scales are tipped a little bit more in the comedic direction. And that also helps this stand apart from that stuff. But this felt like, and I could not have imagined I'd be saying this after seeing this movie, because what I was hoping against hope I would get with Brave New World and didn't, but what I thought the advertising was, I guess, manipulating me into thinking maybe it would be, was finally an honest to God follow up to Winter Soldier, tonally, and and with its ideas, and it just wasn't that. It was so amateurish in the way it handled those things, and it really, really wanted to be that, but it didn't know how to. Black Widow had that to some degree also, and it is soberer than that movie, but it doesn't have any panache or style to the way it's shot. Is a lot of the problem with that. With Brave New World, it was. I mean, that's not a great looking movie either, but I was complaining more about the kind of eighth grade level it was written at, and this is totally the closest we've ever gotten to Winter Soldier. As funny as it is, and it's insane that I'm saying that. And that was my favorite thing about it, because I've wanted that forever. And when it gets to the espionage and the covert spy stuff, which is not even my like absolute favorite thing. Austin is much more of a spy thriller guy than I am, but I've been so enamored with just the ideas and the style and the cinematic experience that Winter Soldier was for so long that I've just been aching for us to be able to get back to that in some way. And this does it, and it keeps surprising me with it, because again, it's also a comedy, so you'll have several scenes in a row where we'll kind of get away from that, and it's not totally at odds with itself or anything. It just when you get to the team dynamic and stuff, it's not always doing that, and then all of a sudden it'll kind of blindside me with it again. I'm like, oh, that's right, this is kind of Winter Soldier-y, and that made me really happy. Which is funny because Bucky is here. But he's not doing anything himself that exactly is getting us back to that. And I like him fine here. I wish he had more to do, and I've got that with a couple of characters, certainly. Although on a second viewing, I liked his role in it a little bit more. Worst thing, it's impossible not to echo Jayson and say, well, except mine is slightly different from Jayson said the ending. I think the ending is fine, and I think all roads are leading to the ending. Like what actually happens at the end of the movie. But Austin wants to complain about the after credits. I want to complain about the credits. I was so irritated with all of this is a minor spoiler, but you get a lot of parodies of famous images from history and magazine covers and things that was all just like way too cutesy on the nose, and I didn't like that being what I was left with at the end of this movie, because it was otherwise so much more like sober and filled with pathos and stuff. That when I get to that, I'm like, okay, so I got the opening to Brave New World as the closing to this movie. That's not okay. And I didn't like that feeling. I wish it didn't have to overstate that. And Jayson did kind of say that, but once we get to the New Avengers of it all, and I guess we'll just, now that I've said that, we'll just go to full on spoilers. But that's what the asterisk is. Everybody knows that by now. Once you get to that, I'm like, can we just let that be a name drop and let it be as big of a deal as it should be in the story we have, and then just like have a cool and like the credits could have something to do with that, but does it have to be just like so overstated? That was annoying to me, and I felt like the baton was passed. I know this is a weird thing to complain about because it's not like the movie is, but what you're left with at the end, what sits with you, matters. Which is why I don't like a lot of MCU after credit scenes, because when they don't match the rest of the movie, or they retroactively don't have anything to do with anything, it's annoying that that's what you're left with. It felt like the baton was kind of passed from the moment the movie is over to the like producers at large for MCU, and it feels the same in the marketing, where it's like you have a guy with a vision that was allowed to make his movie, and then he's leading all the way up to this New Avengers idea, which was kind of his. I write about this, and he actually wanted to do that, but Feige kind of, I sort of guessed this, pushed it a lot farther than it would have been otherwise, particularly in the marketing, and it frustrates me moving forward because I can't get super excited yet about what's going to be done with these characters in like future installments and in the big event movies, because I don't trust it's going to be anything like this. And so we got a great movie, I think, or at least a pretty good movie, but I don't know that it necessarily bodes well for like the MCU moving forward, because there's just all these hints that the people in charge haven't really learned the right lessons from this kind of stuff. So like I'm glad that they were kind of hands off on it, but it also feels like one of those things where it's such a B set of characters that of course they were more hands off on it. Like it wasn't important movies; they were allowed to just do whatever they wanted to, kind of like Eternals. And that's not fair because like they spent money on it. Like I get that, but that is kind of the attitude I'm getting with it. And it feels like as soon as something becomes popular enough with the MCU, it gets tainted immediately. And that's what I'm worried about with this. We didn't used to have that problem with Guardians and stuff, but it's sort of like what you're left with the ending of Guardians 3 when you get a hint at a new team, and I'm like, I can't get excited about that with Gunn leaving. I don't know who would come in and what the hell that would look like. I had exactly that with this.
And I will say, when I was talking about the ending, I kind of like, I liked it, and then everything else kind of made me retroactively not like the ending.
So we're talking about the same thing.
We're talking about the exact same thing, but I'm not liking the ending at all now because of all the rest of the stuff.
But like I said, I'm glad that all roads were leading there, and I also liked like all the Avengers stuff throughout it, because it gives you a good sense of like place and time with the MCU. Like I like that it's addressing, like the way MCU has handled this is dumb, but I like that it's addressing that we don't have an Avengers team and people don't really trust heroes anymore, and I feel like it's accidentally. Because I don't think it's doing this on purpose at all, but I feel like it's accidentally a commentary on how like dreary and unexciting the MCU is right now. I meant to say that earlier.
I had that through the entire film.
That's one of the things I really enjoyed about it, and I'm hearing people, and I had that with Deadpool and Wolverine also in a different way, where that movie is making fun of how bad of an idea the multiverse thing has been. This is sort of being like darkly satirical, I think. Except again, I don't think it's doing it on purpose, and Deadpool was about how like unengaging this stuff is now. So like it looks really dreary. Nobody trusts their heroes anymore. There's a line about how like nobody cares about these heroes anymore. And I just looked at Jayson and I was like, nope, like we sure don't.
Well, and I feel like Sentry is kind of, and again, I don't think they did this on purpose at all. But I think Sentry is kind of this movie where they're trying to make this movie like the next big like set of like heroes and the next big MCU movie, because everything else has sucked and the Avengers are gone. And I thought that was funny, and I was thinking that the entire time. Not even like just with the ending, like with Fontaine trying to make Sentry and stuff like that. Like I thought that was funny the entire time.
Well, I've been hearing people complain about how like overly dark and muddied and like yellow the color palette is. I just think it's appropriate for this. Especially again because I can't help but read this kind of commentary about the MCU right now in it, and that's exactly how I feel about the MCU. So I kind of like the juxtaposition of how much fun these characters are having and how much fun I'm having with them while they're in a universe that sucks. Like it's kind of like the Matrix in that way. And I've heard some people say like it should lighten up like visually toward the end, but I think it makes sense that it doesn't do that, because while they're calling themselves the New Avengers by the end, that is being spearheaded by an evil government lady who's like propping them up as like state-sponsored superheroes. So there's still this underbelly of cynicism under the whole thing. And so I just thought that whole thing was appropriate. Austin, how do you feel about how the movie looks?
I mean, it looks cinematic, which is something that I can't say about a lot of their movies now. And even, back when their movies were good. So that is really nice. I will say with the ending, too, I don't like the asterisk thing as like a part of the marketing, because it spells out it's going to be something. I do really like the choice to, in some way, do what that original first issue did, where you get to the end of the movie and they are actually a different team. Like, I do really like that as a choice. It's not the exact same, obviously, because they're the Masters of Evil in that first issue that are pretending to be the Thunderbolts, while here it's kind of reversed and they're the New Avengers.
I forgot about
so I really like that. And then I don't know, I have like no real opinion on the credits thing, but like a major part of this team, just like in their conception, is just the optics and like making sure we look good. So like I could also see how they got there. I don't have any issue with that.
It was just an attitude thing for me. I don't know. I'm I'm so down on the house style thing, and that, like I was already feeling all of that before we got to the end credits. I don't like it either. Mostly Austin, but that you're real down on. Like I was already with that whole credit sequence like in that headspace, because it reminded me so much of the opening of Brave New World. I was like, God, stop it.
Well, and I think that style doesn't fit with the rest of the stuff. Like you're talking about how like dark and dreary it is. Like that, especially the after credit scene, I don't think feels like the rest of the movie at all. And like, yes, it's directed differently. Because it is the Russo brothers, but it doesn't fit with the rest of the movie, and I think that is said with the credits as well.
Yeah, I mean the credits I think works in that it's they are the New Avengers, and boom, this is kind of, it's that Wheaties box thing where it's like this is like the kind of marketing push that gets pushed out of that, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I have no real opinion on it.
I was gonna ask if you guys also hated the mid-credit scene, because as far as their joke after credit scenes go, I thought it was one of the better ones, and it's at least a payoff to something set up in the movie. So I feel like if you stop the movie there, like it's fine. Better than the last after credit scene. That's just my opinion. I don't know if you guys also disliked the mid-credit one.
I thought it was alright. I thought it dragged on a little bit, but I thought it was
Mhm.
alright.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was fine.
I like that they're actually on a Wheaties box.
Yeah.
I didn't think. I thought it was the least funny thing he did in the entire movie.
Yeah.
He needed to just scream, "We're the new Avengers!" after she walked away.
Something else that's funny. I actually stumbled on this in a little bit of research I did before the show, but Austin, team-wise, it seems like it actually has more to do with the new Avengers than it does with Thunderbolts, because Yelena is a new Avengers character.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's also funny because like throughout the last like I don't know like 5 years or so, they've like peppered in some of these characters into different Thunderbolts comics so that they can then say like, oh look, we're pulling them from
Oh,
the
really?
comics.
What?
Yeah, so that's strange. I do kind of appreciate though that they're launching a new title with this movie, and it's not this team though. I appreciate that they're doing that. But it's weird because that comic has the asterisks in the title, so like they're keeping that, which is yeah, exactly, Robert. That was my
Okay.
my reaction. But I was like, it's cool. It's not the same team. It's not a great team. But
Well, and there's of course precedent for this with Defenders. Like it reminded me of that a lot.
yeah, so it's interesting, right? Because that was the immediate first thing I thought of when they first announced it. And then, like I said, when I actually get into the movie, I'm like, oh, okay. Hawkeye doesn't have a villain backstory like he does in the comics, so you can't have him as the mentor that's been through the same thing that they have been. So who else has that in the MCU? Well, it's Bucky. So Bucky takes that role, and then you have just like things like that where, like I said, Valentina kind of takes the Zemo and Moonstone role, where she's both the one that kind of gets them together and is kind of a villainous presence over that, as well as she's like the manipulative optics person, like Moonstone is in those comics. And there's just little things like that where I'm like, oh, it's cool that I can see as much of the comic in this movie while it's also not really adapting it. Like it's a very fascinating thing.
Yeah, like it's just idea wise. It's nice to know that somebody
Yeah.
actually looked at that material. Because of course, Defenders is really just name only.
Yeah, exactly. That's just straight up name only. Draven G asks if the new Thunderbolts has Carnage. It does have Carnage, but Carnage is Eddie Brock now.
Yeah, which is dumb.
So I don't know. It's comics.
They'll do anything just because it's never been done now. Like the idea that Carnage could possibly meld with Eddie Brock, it breaks my brain. And like, I don't want to know what excuse they came up with to make that work. I don't even care.
Eddie Brock, Carnage, the Thunderbolt. Like what?
Exactly. I mean, I had a stronger reaction when I thought it was Cletus Cassidy as a member of the Thunderbolts, but all in all, it's dumb.
You guys know those kids books that'll have like pages you flip where there's like 3 sections, and then you can customize it and make like different like silly bodies, or it'll be like a story, and then it'll be like different words you can put together to make stories. That's just the way Marvel does comics now.
Yeah.
It's like they just put a bunch of stuff in one of those books, and they just flipped a few pages at random, and they went, oh, we got Thunderbolts up here, and we got Carnage, and I guess we'll do that.
That's how they did the What If show too.
Yeah,
pretty
exactly.
much.
Hey, Jason, let's go through the super chats that we have right now,
Sure, we've got a few.
and then we'll get, and hopefully some of those will spark some spoiler discussion, and then we'll get into more of that.
All right, we got a $5 super chat from John. Hi, it's John again.
Hi, John.
I do not appreciate the way you mock the way I spell rewarching. It's part of religion to misspell words slightly.
You're a
You go
god
on
amongst
doing that.
insects, John.
Don't let anybody tell you different. That was one of the
Beautiful.
first insults directly at Jayson that I've seen in a super chat. That was pretty good.
Oh, yeah. We got $5 super chat from Joel Davis. Can this movie give us any insight onto how FF and Avengers will do, or is this just another fluke similar to Deadpool and Cat 4?
Austin, do you think there's any chance that good word of mouth with this is translates into any positive sales for FF?
I don't know. I mean, I've seen a lot of people excited about some of the FF stuff with this movie. So I don't know. Maybe.
I predict FF will have a stronger opening weekend than this. That's what I think.
Probably.
That doesn't mean it'll have legs.
No, I
you
think
know,
so too, Robert. But that's not my question. My question is this going to positively impact it at all?
Maybe.
Like,
I can only go off of my singular theatrical experience, but my crowd, when we got to that end credit scene, when you see the logo, my whole crowd applauded. So I don't know how indicative that is of anyone else watching this movie.
yeah, but
I was
just
like,
forgetting the
oh,
after
okay.
credits scene. I guess I'm just thinking more like a Marvel movie has been more well liked than the last one. Do people seeing people, because I think people are being kind of superficial about this. And I don't mean to contradict what I said earlier. Like, if FF is really good and the reviews come in, people are liking it, and the word of mouth is good, even if Brave New World came before it, I think it would do well and it would have okay legs. But I also think if Brave New World came out before FF and you didn't have Thunderbolts in between, there would be people more concerned about it because they're going. Austin and I talked about this the other day. You've got people every time one is bad going, the MCU is still in the toilet, but then when there's a decent one, they go, oh look, they turned it all around. I guess it's going to be great from here on out. And that makes it really difficult for me to tell how the next one does.
I think it's an impossible question because I think from the get-go people were more interested in FF.
Right.
So, like, I don't know if this movie will turn people around and make them go, oh, maybe FF will be good. I don't know. All I know is that if my gut reaction to things is that if that's sticking, then I don't know if I will like FF, but we'll see.
I just think that movie could kind of go either way right now, but I mean, I say that like I've got more confidence in that than I did either of these, except for the couple of things I'm kind of concerned about. But it just looks more imaginative and like it's got a real vision. But then this turned out to have a vision, so that's nice.
Yeah, and with FF, I'm having the exact opposite reaction that I had with this, where everything on paper with this, I was like, I don't know. And I saw a trailer and went, oh no, this looks great. FF, I was excited until I saw any footage, and now I think it looks rough. So we'll see.
Yeah, so you and I are kind of on opposite sides with it.
Because
I like
exactly.
I like
We're
all the
about to have a
designs,
civil war.
except I like all the designs except Fearless Silver Surfer.
I like their suits.
And the Fantastic car looks cool. Jayson?
Yeah.
What other super chats do we have?
We got $10 from John.
Oh, he's back.
Hi, it's John
Thanks,
again.
Thanks, John.
He's back. He's back.
I never thought of this as Marvel's Suicide Squad because none of these characters are really villains in the way Suicide Squad team is.
Yeah, and that's another way that it's doing a good job of separating that, where like they on paper they look like villains because most of them have killed people. But they're not in the sense that they're not part of anybody's rogues gallery.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting. And that makes them a little bit more like the Guardians. Where the Guardians are kind of anti-hero-ish, except they haven't all killed people. And they're not like out to do bad things necessarily. They just, some of them will to survive. And these are people who have and it's like really particular backgrounds that put these people together. Like the director talked a lot about the kind of generic talking point of it being fun to have a team of a bunch of people that don't go together, and like every team seems to say that now.
Mhm.
But the difference with this is they don't look like they have anything in common, except the big thing, at least most of them have in common, is that they've not only done bad things, but they have been coerced and against their will in some way. Like someone has been controlling them to do bad things, and so they have all this massive guilt about it, but they're not in. But it's really awkward and confusing to them because they're not wholesale entirely responsible, which is why Winter Soldier has to be in this movie because it's a team of people that have that. Uh, and even Walker, who probably has that to the least degree of anybody else, just because he has been responsible for his own irresponsible and very very selfish actions. But when he got the super soldier formula, he couldn't control himself and he did stuff that he wouldn't have wanted to, but it kind of made him more of who he is because that's what that does. So he is responsible, but he's not responsible. Uh, and I thought that being the thing that tied them all together gave this very much its own flavor.
Mhm. And what we were talking about earlier when I said don't go into this expecting Marvel Suicide Squad because that's what this is. The other part of that is when you hear that you think, oh, who's gonna die? Like, oh, this is a movie where a bunch of characters are gonna die because at least with Gunn's movie, that's just what we're conditioned to expect from a Suicide Squad type of story. And then we got the cast announcement for Doomsday, and it's like, oh, so they're like all surviving. Okay.
This does do the
Got that weeks
big.
before the
With
movie.
one notable exception. Sorry, Austin.
With one notable exception.
This does do the big thing that I would say is kind of the formula of Busick Thunderbolts, which is they fight somebody way more powerful than they are, get completely obliterated, and have to like come back and be like, okay, how? Like, let's think a little smarter here. We can't just outpower them. And I was really
Mhm.
happy that that happened.
Although
Mhm.
I will disagree with you a bit, Dad, because
Well,
um, you say that it's kind of all put together because of Bucky, but he doesn't get anything to do. So it's like, yes, that's a good idea if he did something, but he gets like a couple of funny lines and then he's just kind of there. Um I, I don't know. I kind of and we were talking about this. I kind of wanted him to be more of like a mentor character. But I don't know.
that's the big thing that's sort of missing from it for me by the end is I want him to be able to kind of rally the troops, and I feel like maybe that should be his character arc where he's trying to be a leader in being a congressman and he just doesn't know where he fits in that world. And then when this team comes together and he's working with them and he realizes that they're all going through something that he has come out the other side of, he can kind of help direct them in some way, and he sort of starts to do that, but it's so focused on Yelena's story, and rightly so. But I feel like there is maybe a room for that, and we we're not able to really do much with it. A good sequel could run with that more, but
Mm.
I don't trust a sequel to this.
Right.
Yeah, I think like the pieces are all there for that. Absolutely.
Mhm. Yeah, and I do have minor pacing issues with this movie, like from the start to Bucky actually joining them and becoming part of the team. I feel like that takes maybe a little longer than it should. Like we could have gotten to that point a little quicker. And then from Bob becoming Sentry to the end maybe is a little rushed and happens faster than it should. Like that, I thought could have taken its time more, but maybe that'll bother me less on another viewing. I don't know.
I had
Uh,
the same thing on first viewing, and it worked a little better for me on the second. But that is still a criticism I have. I'm with you. It kind of feels like it's in two halves.
mhm.
I and I honestly like I don't have the pacing thing you do at the beginning, but I do want to live with the void stuff longer. And a lot of that is just we really needed to allow each of those kids, and full spoilers, guys, but we what happened?
I don't know.
Can you guys hear us?
You cut out for a
Yeah,
second.
you cut out a little bit, but
Yeah, you're on the void.
Sorry about that, guys.
you avoided. It did sound like that.
I do think this is something Austin and I talked about the other day too, but especially on a second viewing, yeah, Austin, you're right. Like, all of the Thunderbolts characters need to have their own shame room moment, and they don't. And it plays for kind of an amusing moment where we cut to each of them, and they'll say something that will give you a little bit of a clue as to what they went through, but they actually had plans for all of them, and they just ended up scrapping half of them.
I did wonder that. When I walked out, I was like, I feel like there's maybe an extended cut where you get that and they cut it down. And I can understand why they cut it down, because I do think throughout the movie you get enough of a sense of what everyone's would be. But I would have also liked to have seen that.
It's
but I
such a
have two
good...
major... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, just real quick. It's such a good device to get us in the heads of each of these characters and to understand motivation and background. Like, I think the one that you get for DeFontaine is really important, because otherwise she's just a straight up mustache twirling villain, and like I don't find her especially compelling or anything, but I like that she's a little bit more developed than nothing. Like,
Yeah, that's why I like her more here than I have before, specifically because I get like this like bit into, like behind the curtain. But yeah, I agree with that.
like that nihilistic philosophy, I'm just glad that it comes from somewhere. We get a taste of it. I don't even need to get super deep into it. I just like that she has that whole speech about how there's not good guys and bad guys. There's just bad guys and worse guys, and like we've heard that before with bad guys. I like that comes after we've been in her void place, and we're able to put those pieces together. I think it comes after, and we get to put those pieces together.
I also love how John Walker's one is shot, where it's like he goes into it and you get this like nice scene with his family.
That one hurt
but
my
then
feelings.
But then we like back out and it's just him like staring down the elevator shaft like into darkness.
Yes.
And there's like this moment where it's like, is he gonna jump? Like it's like a really dark moment, and it's beautiful. I really appreciated that scene.
Yeah, and that's it's just really thoughtful about it, Austin. That is thematically connected to and supposed to be like a parallel moment to the opening with Yelena in the parachute, where you think she is maybe committing suicide, and then the parachute opens. But she's talking about having this empty feeling and doesn't know why she does anything she does anymore, and all that stuff really resonated to me.
When even that's bookended, like there's almost like a third one, because her walking into the void is shot like the exact same, where it's like that same kind of side shot, and she's in the same pose, and as she goes into it, yeah, absolutely.
And it's really cool to have a villain that is himself just a representation of the plight that all of our major characters are going through. Like he's a physical manifestation of that. And it's not just like good side, dark side. It's it's like who you are with purpose, and the part of you that could be like deeply depressed and distressed and just pull you down into the black. And I liked having a villain. A lot of these teen movies don't manage to have a bad guy that's a foil for everybody like that. And I thought that was really nice, because so often with MCU movies you have the bad guy that's just the hero, but the bad version of them. And not necessarily in a cool foil way, but just here's our evil Iron Man, here's our evil Ant-Man. This is the like psychological complexity of all of these characters made manifest in a person.
Yeah,
And I really liked that.
Another thing too is I've heard a lot of people talk about how this movie's really anticlimactic, which I don't really agree with. But one of the big things I like with the Void and like their like end confrontation is that they don't really beat the Void. Like it's you have this darkness in you and you can get pulled out of it, but it's still kind of always there. Like it's always deep down. I did like that was the choice that they went with it, and I feel this is something I've kind of thought about.
That, like it's a constant struggle.
Yeah, and this is something I've thought about a little bit because you mentioned Winter Soldier a lot, Cap, but in a lot of ways, I also think this is very Civil War in that we kind of have our big action sequence earlier in the film, and then have a very atypical climax. And I think there is like the Hollywood hack version of this climax where the Void, flies up, does this Void stuff, everybody turns into shadows, and they all become like shadow people so that they can fight an army at the end, like the faceless people. Instead, there is like no real fighting through the climax. We get them saving civilians during that, and then they go into the Void and it becomes very psychological, and I really appreciated that. It's a very intimate climax.
Yeah, because again, it's just about mental illness. So you basically have to solve this with a therapy session.
Yeah, exactly.
A great way to do a climax.
And
they have to save the day by telling the Sentry not to fight it.
Yeah, because of that, Austin, it's like if the 2003 Ang Lee Hulk movie had a better third act. Because I was reminded of that a lot.
That's a great
Absolutely.
point.
I mean, it also is that if you keep hitting me, I'll absorb all of you or whatever. Except I can see what's happening.
Well, and having a force that you can't possibly punch to death. Like, I love that they're fighting a villain that's just completely unkillable. Like, there's no way to beat it, and so they have to come up with a way to talk it down. It's a little bit like Dormammu in that way.
Yeah, and I thought of that too.
Not that you had to trick it. Like, it's nice that it's different. Actually, the closest comparison I could make in talking the villain down, I guess, is the animated Superman Man of Tomorrow movie. It's kind of like that.
Well, it's funny too because you see, there's always the fan like who would win in a fight discourse, but it's there's a lot of who would win in a fight like the Void or Superman, and it's like this is the exact type of villain Superman wants to fight. Because he'd just come in and be like, hey, it's going to be okay, Bob.
Yeah.
I'm Superman.
Yeah, he'd go find Bob in the Void.
Yeah, exactly.
And he would beat him with empathy.
And Sentry doesn't just have a light and dark side. He has a Infinity Saga and Multiverse Saga. That's it.
Well, and, we talk a lot about how there's not great tie-in stuff between projects post-Endgame. It is really cool that before this film, we got an entire film and an entire show set completely in the Void with Born Again and No Way Home. I think that's really cool that they did that. So it's like, oh, okay, now that makes sense. It was in the Void.
Jayson, I realized on a second viewing that the Void... by the way, I'm kind of with Austin on that. I think that's exactly what's happening there. The Void is the anti-Nexus from Generations.
Yeah.
It's exactly the Nexus except the dark, scary version.
Yeah. And way more cool. Way cooler.
I also like the kind of subtle way this fits into the Multiverse Saga, and I know that the stupid Nexus, Picard's stupid photo album.
Bob's stupid, abusive family.
I realized that not every movie that's technically in the Multiverse Saga has been all that much about the multiverse, but I like the way that this is and isn't. And I'm not talking about the Fantastic Four thing at the end. You have a villain that creates pocket dimensions and so there is a interdimensional aspect to this that's not full on multiverse, but we are still using that dimensional idea, uh, which I thought was cool. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I also think that there's no possible way that we're not leading to now we'll make it a speculation cast again, Austin. That we're not using the void to lead into Doomsday and Secret Wars. There's no way that he is not your device for creating Battle World. And I thought that on first viewing, and on second viewing, it came out and really beat me over the head with it. And I can't remember what exactly the line was, but there's something that said that like the way it's compartmentalized into rooms. Something about the way they talk about that made me go, "Oh, okay." Like clearly, we're just going to take this idea, but blow it up from rooms to like towns or cities or something.
I mean, there's a lot of people suggesting that Sentry is going to be the Molecule Man of their version of Secret War, where Doctor Doom is like, "Hey, this is what you can do. Like, this is how you do it bigger. Like, you're not thinking about it on a grander scale." And I think there could be a lot of truth to that.
And the fact that he's just there waiting to turn into the Void again at the end, where he wants to be Sentry and help out, but the Void's always there, and he's afraid he's going to turn into it again. Like they're priming us for they're going to use the Void again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Lewis Pullman, I think, was one of the people in that in the chair video.
Oh, okay.
Also, since we're talking about him, because he didn't come up in any of our best things, he's amazing in this movie
I think
as
so too.
Sentry. He and Florence Pugh, especially, like their dynamic is so good.
Yeah, and I love her character arc in relation to his. It's really their movie together.
Mhm.
Like it's one of those cool kind of rare villains where he becomes the bad guy, or at least a side of him does, but ultimately he's kind of one of the protagonists, because Yelena basically she gradually figures her stuff out throughout the movie, and as she is like figuring out how to find purpose again and get her kind of light back, as they say, which should seem sappy, but it didn't in the movie. As she's doing that, she is able to teach somebody else that really needs it, and the world would end if she didn't do that. So it's good. So it's good that works out. But I really like how gradually she figures that out, and then it's not too easy where it's like, after the first act she's totally put together again and doesn't have that emptiness anymore. Like she's gradually filling that, and she's got to really patch things up with her dad before she gets more of it back by the end. And so I like how long that takes.
Yeah. And that's one of the best scenes of the movie.
It's wonderful. And her talking Bob down at the end, should like usually that kind of speech is really obligatory, and we just got to get from point A to point B. And I really bought that performance. I thought it was actually every bit as good as the conversation she has with her dad earlier, and I was really surprised by that. But I think that scene is great.
Yeah, I find there's a lot of choices with her. They're just very human, like both, and just little ticks and things she brings to the role, and just little, like just subtle things in the writing. Like I really, when she's breaking down, and she's got like a very human moment where she calls Red Guardian daddy, and like her voice cracks when she does it, and it's just very like human.
Mm.
And from this, like, I was picking up on that from that opening monologue, and I was like, oh, there's something here already.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because when I saw that clip, I was like, okay, like it's a little weird that it's summed up like that hard, like just in this clip, and then in the movie, I thought it worked perfectly, especially as it went along.
Well, I may be reading this wrong, and feel free to disagree, but what I like about how that opening monologue ties in, like when she mentions the void in the opening scene, and then when that's where Bob gets that name, it's after he's been in her mind. So that
that's a
just
good call.
really played well for
She
me.
also-
That's like, okay, this
Yeah.
isn't convenient that everyone's just throwing the word void around. It's
Well-
like, no, he gets that from her, and I think
Yeah,
that's
she
cool.
also tells him about her void thing. So, like, she has a whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. I had the same thing. It's just very well put together in taking something that should be cutesy or could be cutesy
Mhm.
and just making it work.
Well, and I had the same thing with the Thunderbolts name. I feel like I should hate that. Like,
Yeah, I was
usually
having that too.
when we have explanations for those names, we're trying too hard. Maybe part of the reason that works is because they don't go with that name, but they also don't overstate how stupid it is. Like, we don't have tons of scenes of characters going, God, I hate this name. Why do we have to call ourselves that? Like, it's not that self-awareness thing where this name is stupid, but we're stuck with it because it's comics. Like, it doesn't read
Say
like
that
that.
again.
Well, and that there's that running joke between them where it's like, oh, this is the person that sponsored the team. No, it was this person. That's another moment that I think is just very, very human. Like I feel like I've had that conversation about things with a parent. Like I do think that is very relatable.
And
Go ahead, Robert. Sorry.
Well, and part of what I think it works too is I think John Walker's the first one who calls them that as a joke after hearing about that
Yes.
story.
Yes.
So it's not Red Guardian who says, "I know, let's call us Thunderbolts," because that's it. It's no.
He, like,
Red
perks
Guardian
up when he
hears
hears
and
it.
he's
He's like,
like,
"Wait a
it's such a
minute."
tad moment, like we're bringing the Thunderbolts back. Yes, it's
Yeah.
like that. It makes that joke so much more human and sincere to me.
Yeah,
I really
I
like that.
agree. Because I feel like that's another. I mean, like Cap said, because he basically started with that. Like that's something that shouldn't work, especially because the Thunderbolts in the comics have like a very specific reason they're called that, and it's really cool. But like at the same time, like I can appreciate both because they work in both contexts.
And one of the exchanges, like, oh, we can't call ourselves that. Like, one of those is in the trailer, not even in the movie.
Yeah.
There was some more of that was cut out.
And I'm
Well,
glad.
Well, I think
It was way
I
better in
assumed
the
it was a
movie.
line that. I assumed it was just a changed line for the trailer, but I could be wrong. There could be more there, because what is it? Bucky says instead, he's like, "What is that?" or whatever.
Yeah, that was great.
I also
I
like,
wondered if it was just they did like a trailer take.
I also
Probably.
like that comes from a personal thing with Yelena because it's so much her movie.
Mhm.
That's
Well, yeah,
just
I think I said to
part
you,
of her
Cap,
background. Like they get sorry I didn't notice this until the second viewing, but there's a lot of really nice subtle setup and payoff that I caught at a second viewing. You see the picture in Red Guardian's house of the soccer team, and they don't name drop it there.
Right.
She's just like, why do you have a picture of this? And then she talks about how bad the team was, and the name of the team and that whole thing doesn't come up for another 15-20 minutes. That is just
That's what that's a picture of?
yes, that is the kind
Oh.
of subtle writing I didn't think MCU was capable of anymore. Like that's like real honest to God like I don't know, storytelling 101 stuff. Like
Well, because if it was in Brave New World, it would be you have a picture of me on my team, the Thunderbolts. Yes,
Mhm.
one day I know you're solo now, but one day you will have another Thunderbolts like you did then.
I felt like this movie trusted the audience, and it or at least as much as it ought to, and it goes back to the kind of classic early MCU days where there's plenty of superhero stuff for people that like superhero movies, and then it's also kind of just a movie. It really harkens back to Iron Man in that way.
Mhm.
It actually has less of a typical grand superhero third act than Iron Man does.
That's true. And what's funny, talking about the ending with them talking Bob down. For me, what I was thinking of during that whole sequence,
Was,
not
hey,
necessarily
you have the
specific.
same name I have.
Yeah, and he's great. And
You were like, I also have a void and wish that I could destroy Manhattan for an hour.
oh boy, yeah. But the feeling I got during that sequence though is like, oh, this feels like watching a family film, like something. It's like something I've seen in animation a lot. I don't know if any of you guys like. It's something I'd expect from like a Pixar movie or
Yeah,
something, or
that's true.
like Paranorman was the one movie I thought of that stop motion, but in a good way, in a sincere way. I don't, where they stop the jokes and it's just very emotional. Like the themes are really good. It's one of those things where like it didn't surprise me. I think we all kind of knew where this movie was going, so there wasn't anything in the climax that I didn't see coming. It was just correct. Like it was just right. But I also thought like, okay, but if I was a kid watching this as a superhero movie, I think I would be surprised by where it goes, and it might actually be kind of poignant and really stick with me if I was a child. So I think that's cool. That's something I appreciate about it. Like I've seen it all these movies, like I could see where it was going, but I probably wouldn't if I was 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the second they announced that the Sentry was going to be the villain, I was like, okay, this is the only way this goes is they have to find some way to talk him down because he's the Sentry, and you have the Void thing, so like you could do something there where they talk him back into being Sentry, and I was like, so that's predictable, but in like you said, that's the right way to do it. And then I had a moment where I went, wait a minute, the movie prior to this had Captain America fighting Red Hulk. Uh, I should be impressed that they did the smart thing.
So my only problem with
Just not a
Sentry,
given.
my only problem with Sentry was, and I didn't have this as much with Void Sentry, but and this is just normal MCU stuff, but I didn't like what it looked like. When normal Sentry is fighting, he looks like a PS4 character. I don't know if I don't know.
That whole fight at the top of Avengers Tower looks like an Injustice fight.
Yeah, he looks
That
like
that whole fight is very CGI heavy. I said this to Cap too. I think it looks worse because so much of the rest of the action is practical. So you get to that sequence and it's like, oh, now we're into just regular MCU CGI.
he
I
looks
don't
like
know
he's
if it would hit
moving
me
at a
as
different-
harder.
He looks like he's moving at a different frame rate than everyone else. Like,
The whole thing's very strange, yeah.
What I did like about that fight, though, was most of it being in one take, or it's simulated one take, so it still had more personality from what you expect from a CGI
true.
MCU.
Yeah,
No,
it was-
I love that
Oh.
fight on paper. I just don't think it looks great.
It's well storyboarded. I also think, Austin, the overly CG approach with it might be an intentional attempt at just making Sentry look really powerful, where it's like
That could be.
he's got to move at a different rate. It's got to feel surreal because he's like shooting across the screen the way he is. Like I don't even know if it's limitations of technology so much as they're going for a look they think they can achieve better with that, and they didn't pull it off to us. Because
Yeah,
I don't love what that looks like, but I think I get what they're trying to do with it.
That could be. I just thought it was just kind of unpolished, but in that it looks worse because so much of the rest of the film isn't CGI heavy.
Well, and also part of that third act, like the sequence when they're saving everybody from the debris, I also thought that was the other like really CGI
That's true.
heavy part of the movie with a lot of gray, ugly green screen stuff that we're just used to in the MCU. But going all the way back to Winter Soldier, it's like, well, if I'm invested in the characters and what they're doing, I can kind of overlook that. So I still like that sequence a lot of just everybody saving
I'm gonna have
people.
to go to bed soon.
Yeah,
Even if
that
it
one
doesn't
didn't
look
even
great.
jump out to me as much. I think just because I was so excited that it was just about saving people, since I really like whenever we do that in superhero movies.
Okay, guys, we're already at 2 hours, and there's still some stuff to hit. If you two want to stick with me, but Jason's got to go to bed. So, Jason, do you have
Okay.
anything else you want to bring up that we haven't talked about?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I really liked it. I would like to possibly see it in the theater again. I might try to go with you or go by myself. I don't know. I really liked it.
It's just nice to get one that doesn't feel like it could have been a TV show.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
you're right.
Like real like we keep saying, cinematic spectacle stuff. I've never seen a limousine flipped end over end like that, and that was really neat. You know, to do like the 18-wheeler thing from Dark Knight, but then go, let's do it with something longer.
Yeah. No,
Absolutely.
and stuff like that was why I thought it was very cinematic looking.
Also, Walker has the best comedic reactions to things. Like that look
He is so
gives,
just his father's son.
It's so funny. That look right before that bomb blows up and then flips that in over end is probably it's so good. There's something he says earlier than that cracked me up too.
There's a part where he pops up and Yelena's shooting at him and he's got like blocking it, and then he's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! It's me! It's me!"
Oh yeah,
and
that's good.
If I close my eyes, I can just hear Kurt Russell.
But yeah, you go to bed.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, Jayson, before you go, do a Red Guardian where the Thunderbolts yell.
No.
Oh, okay. Tragic.
We'll never get to hear Jason's impeccable Russian accent.
No. That's never gonna. I can't do that.
All right. Well, thanks, Jason.
Yeah. Good night.
Now I have to be my own.
Yeah,
Good night, Jason.
Yeah. We got 2 super chats left.
Okay, I'll take care of that. Can you put the chair away?
But also during that sequence, though, we get a very different line reading from him from the trailer. When Bucky shows up in the trailer, he's like, "Is that Bucky?" And in the movie, it's Bucky. And it really caught me off guard.
It's also very subtle. It's also very subtle. But I love that, like, the Red Guardian has like a hero worship thing for the Winter Soldier.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Because
great.
they're both like a Russian thing. That's
Mr.
awesome.
Mr. Soldier.
Yeah, and he's just like, "Oh, it's the Winter Soldier!" Yeah.
I just remember what it was. The best John Walker line in the whole movie is, "Jesus Christ, stop saying Bob." That line reading is so funny. So I loved him in Falcon and Winter Soldier. In the first few episodes he's in. Until everything through his losing it and killing that guy in front of everybody, and then they lose me with pretty much everything in that show after that, including what's done with him toward the end. So I was really mixed on bringing him back because I didn't know how he'd be, and I wanted that first character in something cool on the big screen, and they gave us that. Like he's absolutely that character again, which really excited me. And they nailed what I liked about his worldview and how he's always trying to take the easy way out, but he's real selfish, and he's wanting people to look at him like Captain America, but he's not willing to do the work and to get there, and he's not that kind of selfless or anything. And I just love that we got example after example about how he'll about like how he mistreats people and then always has an excuse for it.
No, he's such a lovable a-hole.
Yeah,
the worst line of the. Oh, go ahead, Robert.
Well, somebody in the chat was saying if we thought he was more of a jerk.
Let me read that because that's a super chat.
Okay. Sorry.
Dan Snyder put in a $5 super chat. What's your thoughts on the criticism that they make John Walker more of a jerk because people found him too sympathetic in Falcon and Winter Soldier? I was going to get to that after we talked about this for a second, but you've brought it up, so go ahead.
Well, because I thought he kind of was, but by design, in a way I bought it. It's like, at least with where he is at the start of the movie, like this is character regression done well, where you understand just his self-destructiveness and the choices he's made that's made him this way. Like we see how he was a terrible father and his wife leaving him. Like I just it all felt very organic, but they still retain his humanity. And by the end, like you do still get some of those positive traits, and I don't know. There's just enough human moments with him where I'm like, okay, this is still a 3-dimensional person, who I like to watch on screen.
No, and I thought it made a lot of sense that he was a bit harsher in this movie than he was in that show because of like what he's been going through, and that helps, put him more in with like the whole Void thing with everybody else as well. The worst line is absolutely though when Ghost is like, "Oh, well, you were Captain America until you killed an innocent man." Marvel needs to just stop referencing that show.
Yeah. that
my eyes rolled so hard when she said that, especially because she's the only actual supervillain on the team.
Right. Yeah. We haven't really talked about the Ghost of it all, but I do think she's the weakest of the crew, and I've got a lot of reasons for that. Even though I didn't feel that while I was watching, except for that scene. Because I do like that actress, and I thought she was cool to watch, but by the end, like you said, like, her not getting a shame room sequence, like, is a problem. Like, there are bits of her arc, if she even has an arc, that I think are missing.
The shame room sequences we get inform each of those characters so much, like, you can't even read their arcs without them, that it makes you want it for everybody, because everybody would immediately be more drawn if the shame room sequences are as telling as they are, and it's just so economical, right? Like, we don't need any big long expository back and forth or monologues or anything about hardly anybody's backgrounds. It's just we get one scene that's indicative of how they become the way they have, and you can fill in all the blanks. Apparently Bucky's was supposed to have something to do with the Boy Scouts. I don't know what that's about.
Oh, okay.
So it might have been more of a joke one.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, I guess. That is probably his like funniest line though, when they come in and he's like, "Well, I have a good past, so I was fine."
Yeah,
I did like
great.
that line. I thought that was good.
Well, and I think you could have gotten away with doing the shame room for everybody but Bucky. Because
I was gonna say that I do think you could have done that
because he's the character that and like I'm complaining that he didn't get enough to do in this. I'm not complaining that he's not drawn enough because we've spent enough time with this character in the past. We know who he is.
Bucky is
we know
also
his
the
tragic
person
background and everything.
Yeah, that and Bucky's also the most like put together at this point. Like he's not really. He was in their shoes and is no longer that.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
like I also think that helps for us not having to see his room.
But I also like that he's still the same character, and they play that for comedy, but they don't have to take him out of character to do it. So like he's bad at being a congressman. He doesn't want to read the packets because they're boring. I like that detail. And then he's not good at coming up with plans, so he just barrels in because that's what he's always done. And so, and this is why I wanted him to take more of a mentor role, because that's really difficult for him. He's not very good at it. And so, but maybe you have to spend more time with that to make us buy his figuring it out than we're able to do with the Yelena of it all. So I get the double-edged sword that is, but I just saw a real clear, like internal conflict for him with that would be fun to see, spread out. And I also thought the funniest thing.
Another version.
I also thought the funniest thing with him was his mechanical arm coming out of a dishwasher. I really appreciated that. He washes his mechanical arm in a dishwasher.
Which I guess is bookended or set up for when it gets ripped out later, maybe. I don't know.
Sure. But it would have been great if he just picked it up and went, well, at least it's clean. Anyway, sorry. What were you
okay,
that's a...
sorry.
No, go ahead, Robert. Go ahead.
No, but that's a missed opportunity for the joke in that after credit scene when Bob mentions I did the dishes. You could have had Bucky's arm as part of that.
Oh, sure.
It's right there.
Yeah, it's right there.
He hand washes Bucky's arm.
It would have been the one funny thing in that scene.
Okay, sorry, go ahead, Austin.
And then he can be like, "Oh man, this is also my second Wakandan arm because Mantis stole, or no, Nebula stole my arm."
Yeah,
True.
which still makes no sense, but I don't care. Like,
I don't care either. Yeah,
it's great in that moment.
yeah. No, I'm getting to a point where I don't care about the MCU. Like, I just care about projects. So it's like, if something's good, like, I'm fine with it. I can live with it. They're not. It's not as connective in my mind anymore.
Well, that's why this is really complicated in my brain, Austin, because some of what I liked about it is the way it connects to the larger MCU, but I don't care about the larger MCU anymore. So I'm a little frustrated with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And again, I also think I'm seeing meta commentary that is not intended.
Can we talk about the Taskmaster of it all? Because that's a big thing we haven't talked about.
Before we do that, can I just throw out one last thing about Bucky, and specifically in that Sentry fight?
Sure.
It's very small. I was like fully prepared to roll my eyes when Bucky got back up when he's like the last one, because I thought they were gonna do a I can do this all day, and I like breathed a sigh of relief when they didn't.
Thank God, yeah. They did a couple of references like that I thought were always pretty tasteful. Like John Walker has it on your left. I don't know if you guys caught that.
Yes.
And it's very forced.
I didn't think it was, actually. I kind of dug it, but because that felt like a thing in that moment that he could just say, and so like it's a reference to the audience, but it didn't feel like a heavy-handed one to me. I don't know, because it was pretty throwaway.
Yeah, that was fine.
But I don't know. I like stuff like that. Anyway, but Robert, you also said you wanted to talk about Ghosts, so I guess Robert just really wants to talk about the two female characters that aren't Yelena. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the Taskmaster thing is weird for me. I don't think it works, but I'm very conflicted about it. Where on the one hand, it's like I also question the motivation behind it, because the director said, "Well, we wanted a really shocking death up top to tell you that no one was safe, and raise the stakes." And it's like that's not what the movie is. Like it
what's
reminded
the point if
me
you're not going to kill anybody else?
Right. It reminded me of when they killed Thor's friends, the Warriors 3, at the start of Ragnarok, because, it shows how powerful Hela is. It's like, no, you're just getting rid of these characters you don't care about. It doesn't factor into the story at all. And, again, I'm so conflicted about it, because on the one hand, Taskmaster in Black Widow was awful and a horrible mistake, and I'm glad we're just past that and like, okay, that just didn't work. Get her out of here. So on that level, I kind of appreciate it, and I'm fine with it. But on the other hand, I would have liked to have seen the attempt at redemption and doing something cool with that character. I also like that actress, and she's now been wasted in 2 Marvel movies, and that's kind of a shame. She's an underrated Bond girl, in my opinion. Even though that movie isn't well liked. So
and David Harbour is also in Quantum of Solace.
Is he playing the exact same character there too?
He's basically the same character he is in Suicide Squad.
He's CIA guy. Yeah, but and also like it's not shocking at all. Like Austin and I, like from the first trailer, we're like, "Oh, Taskmaster's gonna die. She's barely in this trailer."
Well, that's obviously all the advertising,
and we all knew she was gonna die.
There's that one poster we laughed our asses off about, where it's like it's a lineup of them, and on the very far right is Taskmaster, and they're all looking straight except Yelena, who's like that, and we're like. She's looking at Taskmaster being like, hey, you're clearly not in this scene because you're like awkwardly photoshopped in.
So she was originally supposed to be in the movie all the way through, and that was decided kind of at the 11th hour, which really sucks for that actress, certainly. I'm fine with the movie that we got. I hear where you're coming from, Robert. My thing is, you're right that it's kind of bogus to say, well, it raises the stakes and, that anybody could bite it, because then nobody else does. What I like about it is DeFontaine sends them all there to murder each other and at least one of them actually gets killed.
Yeah, I agree
It
with
also
that. Like
does
on
have,
paper,
like,
that's just
some-
correct.
Yeah,
It
somebody
also
should
does have
die
some
there.
stakes. It also has some stakes where Ghost is the one that kills her, and then Ghost is the only one that can get them out of the room. So, like, she's already killed one of them. Will she come back? I mean, you obviously know she will, but like, I guess it raises the stakes with that.
What would work?
I
What would? Sorry, Robert. What you would get? I'll say this real fast. What you would get if she was there all the way through that you don't is, and I don't know that you would even think about this except on a second viewing, but when you get the whole New Avengers thing, you've got 6, which is the number, of course, that you have of the original Avengers, and you would have a 6-man team all the way through the movie, and then she would die, and then she would be replaced by Sentry, and you don't have that if she's not there the whole time. It's a 5-man team until he's tacked on at the end, and then I don't even know if he really quite counts because he can't even use his powers.
I also think that choice would have worked better for me if it factored more into Ghost's arc. We just have one conversation about it, and then it never comes up again.
And originally, they were supposed to bond and be like a duo through the whole thing.
Okay. Because Ghost is the weird one where I think she's kind of regressed, but not in an organic way. There's just a lot of story we're missing between films. Like,
Yeah.
in Ant-Man and the Wasp,
She's a different character now. Not literally, but in the sense that it's been so long. Like,
but also, like, in Ant-Man and the Wasp, you could understand a lot of what she was doing, though, because she's literally dying. The stakes are very high for her. But then there's also her horrible past in these things that, like, S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatever has made her do that she wants to get past. And now she's just fine killing people. Like it doesn't seem too upset about it. She's just cool with it. Where's Fishburne?
I know,
Her
that was
surrogate father.
That was
never
my
mentioned.
big thing, and yeah, I didn't like that you never got a Goliath reference. That was really odd. And you're right, like she's the one of these characters that I least buy becomes a mercenary because everything she did before was just survival.
Right.
Now maybe, and all you had to do was go into it, like. Maybe, being stuck in that suit, she just can't get any other work. Like there's ways to get us there, but that seemed like the most obligatory character. Where it's like, who else do we have laying around? What's another like female character we can throw in the mix so we can make it half and half? Like I think that might have been part of the decision to get her in there. I don't know.
Well, and I like her being part of the crew though, just because she has a cool power. That helps differentiate her from the others. So like that was exciting. And as I'm watching the movie, I didn't feel she was that underserved. It's just thinking about it after the fact, where I'm like, oh, you could have. She has she is hardly an arc, and just that's tied to the Taskmaster of it all. Where I'm like, oh, I wish that went somewhere more. It was more of an earned decision. But I also hate Taskmaster and Black Widow, so I'm so conflicted about it.
That reminded me, Robert. I saw an interview with the cast where they did the obligatory, if you could have any power from anyone on the team, whose would it be? And everyone's like, well, Ghost. Why did you pick any of the other ones? It's the only, really interesting power.
Yeah, and also, half the team has the same power.
The same power.
Okay, so...
Well, and then
sorry,
one person says Black Widow, which is just wrong. But yeah.
No,
with the...
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
No, because I was going to take us someplace else. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, no, yeah, I have more to say on Taskmaster. Taskmaster is super awkward because, from the get-go, it's a really bad adaptation of that character, all the way back in Black Widow. I understand what that movie thinks it's doing with that character. It just doesn't work as Taskmaster. That's the big asterisk on that. We slap that on because it's okay, but it's also not Taskmaster, in any way. I think that Marvel went, okay, people don't like her. Let's do the apology and just throw that away. And I think they made it infinitely more awkward in that they created a character that's a victim, and they're like, oh, this sucks. You're a blank slate. You can do whatever you want with her movie. after this movie, and maybe she'll be more like Taskmaster. I don't know. No, she just gets killed as like a joke.
Yep.
And yeah, sorry.
Well, that was
ahead.
part of the meta commentary I was reading in it. That was part of the MCU kind of sucks now commentary. It was like we know nobody liked this character, so we're gonna apologize for that, and maybe other characters people are, not really buying by saying yes, we get that there are people that we've put in that you're not liking, but knowing that she was supposed to be there the whole time, I'm not convinced that they did that on purpose either.
No, and a lot of fans are like, okay, well, we wiped her away, and now we can get real Taskmaster. I don't think they're touching this character again. I think they're going, well, we tried it, didn't work, and that's it.
They couldn't even do the skull mask for stupid reasons.
Because of China. I know, it's...
And honestly,
although, I kind of wish she came back because her mask looks less and less like a skull every time, so maybe next time it would just be plain white.
And Austin, if they ever do another version of that character, it'll be in a Disney Plus show. It won't be in a movie.
Yeah, no, that's true too.
And
I mean that is part of my hesitation looking at Silver Surfer, looking for with that coming out next, is I'm like, I've already seen the way that they go with stuff like this. Like I don't trust them.
Yeah.
Well, and it also just really undercuts the ending of Black Widow, a movie I'm not a big fan of to begin with, but it's going to make it way worse on a rewatch, for completionists, where it's like that's part of Natasha's like arc, and that is her past, and saving her at the end, and then she's shot in the head.
And I do like that movie well enough, and it's awkward. It's awkward all around because it also doesn't work in that movie.
Well, and that's another MCU movie that I was excited at first with the opening credits because I thought it was gonna have cool, stylish spy thriller stuff, espionage thriller stuff, and then I wasn't satisfied with that. And again, this was the last thing I expected to finally scratch that itch, and it did. Like that was my favorite thing about it.
Yeah, and one of the scenes I really liked was them trying to escape, like climbing up the elevator shaft, where they're like, oh, we all have abilities, but none that are conducive to this situation.
Yeah.
So, like that, it's little bits like that where I'm like, oh, there's actually thought put into this. And I don't know, that was a standout, funny sequence for me.
Well, and that was the best
example.
That was the best example of Walker looking out for himself and retroactively pretending like he cares about anybody else. I thought that was really great, and he was like, well, I was gonna save myself and then ensure the safety of all of you. I was like, BS, dude. It's like you had no way. A, you had no way to be sure that you could save everybody as they dropped, and B, you didn't save anyone. Like, everybody helped themselves and or each other. You stood up there and then went, yeah, I was gonna get to that.
He pulled them up. He pulled them up after. Yeah, I see no issue with that. I mean, he saved them, but also even if he didn't, there'd be no witnesses to say otherwise.
Did he actually pull them up? I guess I missed that.
Yeah, because they like catch themselves and then like he's able to pull them up, but we cut away and we see him pulling up Bob, so like that's kind of the implication.
Okay, I gotcha. So I'll get back to super chats in a second. One thing I wanted to ask Robert, because I kind of pitched this to Austin, and he already knows about this idea. But Robert, after my first viewing, I think the new Avengers idea works well enough, especially in the way it's set up all the way through. I like that we're in Avengers Tower and all of that. Like there's nice breadcrumbs to get us to that place.
Which is a great reference to the comic where they're in the Baxter Building is their base.
Cool. Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, and they call it the Watchtower, which I think is a Sentry thing.
I think so,
I think Sentry has a Watchtower. It's been too long since I looked at the Sentry stuff at that miniseries, but and then I had a question. hopefully I can remember to get to this because I also had a question about Sentry that I wanted to ask you, Austin. But anyway, I have all this stuff I want to talk about. Sorry, we're still going, but I got all this stuff I want to talk
Better
about.
to have more things you want to talk about than, oh man, can we just get this over with? Like,
Because that was Brave New World. We did that for way too long. But this, it's weird because I don't. Again, I see this as a relatively simple movie, but there's an odd amount of stuff to delve into with it.
mhm.
Robert, I felt like the natural thing to do at the end of this movie would have been not to bring back some semblance of the Avengers, especially because it's so awkward that we just haven't had that all the way through. Like when we get that mention of Sam Wilson at the end, where it's like, oh, now he's gonna make an Avengers team because the new Avengers are a thing, and he doesn't like that, and he wants to copyright the name. I'm like, get out of here with that.
Also, are him and Bucky not talking to each other?
Over
They
this,
somehow found a way to make me hate him even more.
and off screen, he's not even there.
Yeah.
But anyway, God, why did they have to take one of my favorite characters and just freaking? Anyway, again, threw him under the limousine. So
How was that
while it was
conversation
rolling
not-
over?
How was that conversation not just, hey, what the hell is this? You took the Avengers name? Yeah, we got like forced into it. Oh, okay. It's understandable.
You want to join?
I mean, maybe
Not,
he's just
I'm gonna
upset
sue
that they're.
you.
Maybe he's just upset that they're working with, you know, an evil CIA agent, but then director. But then he can just explain the situation to him. I don't know. Anyway, but my question is, Robert, what do you think of the idea of they're using this as a way to bring Shield back instead? Because I thought that would have been a really natural thing to do.
That's a good question. Yeah, Shield's just like so far gone in the
Yeah.
MCU. Like I just don't care anymore. But yeah,
Well,
that could've
no,
been
me
interesting.
neither. But like, especially just thematically, where you've got this again evil covert ops leader woman that's basically running her own like twisted version of Shield, and then you get to I'd be rewriting the movie to do this, of course, but you basically get her actually impeached at the end, and then what we replace it with is this new team rebuilding Shield. They have a former Shield agent. They have a Black Widow. And our other Black Widow was a Shield agent. There is there's kind of a thematic through line about the idea of shields and shielding people, and like it's not built up to as much as the Avengers thing, but it's weirdly in there if you're looking for it.
Yeah, I mean that could have worked. I guess part of it is I would just need to see the sequel to that version of this movie. Like I'd want to see where it goes. The problem is we're not getting a sequel. We're getting an event next.
Yeah.
So like who knows how much of this team is going to be left after Secret Wars and all that. So like that's kind of a bummer. It's like what Hosta has with why you just can't get excited for Fantastic Four, because that's the next thing. But I still hope that's a good standalone movie. Like I'm
The
still
thing
looking
that
forward to
this
it.
has that FF doesn't is that you're bringing the Thunderbolts into an Avengers movie, and it's just them coming into something separate, and then they can then go off and do their own thing again, and I can maybe just have a sequel to this film that is more in line with this, while FF, they're like so deeply rooted into that Avengers movie.
And their universe is probably getting destroyed, so when we make another movie for them, it won't be able to look like that. It won't even be a period piece.
Well, and the after credits scene of this has me going, oh, are they going to do the Captain America First Avenger thing where it's like we have the bookend that's in the MCU? Because I really don't want them to do that.
No, I'm more hoping in FF that's just after credits scene stuff, but we'll see how the movie turns out.
Yeah, but regardless, Robert, I don't see how they could possibly make a sequel to. I mean, we haven't seen the movie yet, but I don't know how they could possibly make a sequel to that movie that will be a period piece and look like that movie. Because I think they will full on soft reboot before they have a chance to do that. Like when we do Secret Wars and we get past Battle World, like they will have destroyed the multiverse, so you're not gonna have that world anymore. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what they're gonna do.
Yeah, I just need to see what the new status quo looks like after Secret Wars before I can say if I'm excited.
Oh sure.
What's coming next? I like the X-Men, stuff like that. And yeah, and then it just puts this movie in a weird place where it is retroactively like, oh, it is kind of it's more of a setup movie, but how much is this going to matter in the long run? I don't know. That could make this awkward on rewatches, but there's at least a complete story.
Yeah.
That I'm satisfied with. Like, it's hard to say. Like in 10 years from now, is this going to be remembered as a movie? Probably not. But the more we talk about it, the more I'm like, oh no, this is really good, and I am looking forward to watching it again. I also have only seen it the one time.
Yeah, Robert, but it has more of a chance at being looked at that way the more bad movies they make. And, like,
that's
if
possible.
People don't like the Avengers events they're doing, this will look great, especially when retroactively it has Avengers in the title. Just superficially, you will have fans that will go, well, at least they had one good Avengers movie. I guess the only problem with my S.H.I.E.L.D. idea is I just thought of this. It actually could have like thematically clashed a little bit by the end, because Yelena's character arc is about finding purpose in becoming a real superhero and being like public and out in front of everybody. And S.H.I.E.L.D. is the opposite of that. So, I mean, the whole idea is that these people are not covert. So that would be an argument against my idea.
I mean, the Marvels did have Miss Marvel, like, completely fangirl at seeing Nick Fury a spy. So, I don't know. Apparently S.H.I.E.L.D. is just very public.
Well, S.H.I.E.L.D. always had that problem. I mean, that was dumb. I'm with you. I'm not taking away from that. But I could never tell if S.H.I.E.L.D. was supposed to be a secret or not.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't know. They completely retconned S.H.I.E.L.D. at a certain point, given how it set up an Iron Man.
Yeah, they're still figuring out the name in Iron Man.
It took them really long.
So I'm sorry. I will get to the couple super chats we have here in a second, but I will forget about this if I don't do it now, because you just reminded me of this, Austin. This is the big question I wanted to ask you, Austin.
Okay.
Speaking of retconning and retroactive stuff like the S.H.I.E.L.D., do you think you could have done something with Sentry closer to comics, with the whole he secretly is a hero that goes all the way back and nobody remembers him? Because that's like the big Sentry thing that they left off the table with this.
So I'm glad that they did. Like, that is one thing that I didn't really like in that comic when we reviewed it, and I'm glad that we didn't have that. But I do think you could have made it work in that he's got faulty memories, and you could have done the reverse where they like implant that into him. And if we did that, I think it could have been fun to have like him awkwardly like photoshopped into scenes. Like, the big one I wanted to see was the circle around shot in Avengers, and he floating down in the middle, like
where like he thinks he's part of all of that. His mind is programmed to. So like, and you know what would have been cool with that? It's like the programming forces the delusions of grandeur to be worse than they would be otherwise. Which just makes the like DeFontaine kind of worse and more evil. Because then retroactively it's like not only does he think he's a god, but like you made him think that, and this already has that, but like even more so.
Yeah, and you could have done something interesting where maybe like when he gets the like the kill switch or whatever, and he falls down dead. Like maybe you go into his mind for a second and you're living through some of those scenes again, and they slowly get like voided out, and you see, you know, what his life actually was. You could have done something like that. I don't necessarily need it, but like I think that's kind of the only way to make that work with what we have.
No, I like that idea a lot. I was honestly a little bit surprised that they didn't say they didn't do the comic thing and say that he'd been there all along, because we've done a lot of that retconning now. Like having Ant-Man be a legacy hero and doing Captain Marvel as the first Avenger and all of that. Uh, So I'm glad they didn't do that. Hey, I'm sorry, guys. I've got to go deal with one of my dogs that's been barking for a few minutes. I don't know what's going on with her. So this is horribly unprofessional of me, but I've got to go deal with that. So can you guys just hold the fort for a little bit? Talk about whatever you guys want to talk about with this.
We'll talk about the most important things so that you'll miss it.
I'll catch back up. Obviously, don't do super chats yet, but you guys go in whatever direction you want to. I'll be right back.
So this is going to be our first segment of Austin's political corner. Take it away, sir. I know you have thoughts about current events.
Okay, so first of all, here is the list of every U.S. president I both hate and okay, actually, we're going to play F, Marry, Kill with all of the no.
There was something I wanted to ask you about with this.
Yeah,
movie,
go for it.
So I think before you saw the movie, you saw a picture of Sentry's costume, and you're like, "Oh, it's terrible."
Yes.
I'm curious if you'll disagree with this. In the context of the movie, I took it as kind of being on purpose. Maybe it wasn't, but it looked like the overcomplicated suit you expect for the MCU. But in the context of this movie, I thought that's just correct. I don't know if that was an accident or not. What did you think about that?
No, so I don't know if it's intentional or not, but I agree. I do think it has that read. Where I saw it and I was like, oh, they took like a very simple costume, did it exactly, and then slapped a bunch of crap on it. And it just looks rough. And I agree. Like I do think it absolutely has that that read, and I think that works really well, especially because we don't live with that suit. Like it's just there for that one moment where that's where we go, oh well, he has blonde hair because we basically kind of, it's like the focus testing thing. Like it's not literally, but like that's kind of what we're doing. My worry is that I think it's going to be the Iron Spider 2 thing again, or the Iron Spider thing again, in that I think in Homecoming that suit looks awful, and it's like, oh look, this is everything we don't want Spider-Man to be, like summed up in one costume. And Peter Parker is like, no, that's not me, that's not who I am, and he leaves. And he immediately has it in Avengers, and I think he's just going to be dressed like this in Avengers, but we'll see.
That's a really good call. I want to resist that because, as we saw with all the other heroes in the final after credit scene, they have new costumes because, of course, they do. Because you always have to change their costumes to make new action figures.
U.S. Agents, I think, is the same, except he has like a beret, which I kind of like.
Yeah, that one. I thought Bucky's costume was terrible. I don't know what's going on with that.
I'm not a fan. He's got the star on his arm, and it looked like a flower. I do not like it.
And then I'm a hypocrite because Ghost's main costume in this movie is a complete reinvention of what it was in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but I still thought it looked cool in this movie. Like I did like it, and then she gets like kind of a lamer one in that post-credit scene. So with Sentry, I'm like, well, if it's the normal Marvel formula, well, we got to sell a new hot toy, so he'll probably look different. But the Iron Spider throws a wrench in that, because for some reason, that's the one we kept the same and kept using. So I don't know.
Yeah, and even if it's a different suit, like I think it'll still have some of those same problems. But they could prove me wrong. Like they could fix that suit. The thing I hate the most about it is that it's got like random patches of just a different shade of yellow. It's really awkward.
And
yeah,
I
like hope
how
that's
like
Red Guardian's costume though. That should be his costume in Avengers.
It won't be. It'll be shiny. It'll be more armored. It'll have too many lines on it, and they'll be very proud of it.
No, Cap. I'm saying I hope his costume in the after credit scene will be his costume through Avengers.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant the regular costume.
No, I mean,
Sorry.
that. No, you're fine. You just popped in the middle of that. We're talking about the Sentry's costume.
Yeah, that's what I figured you guys were talking about. Yeah, people seem to really hate it, and I think it's okay for what they're doing, but like with the meta satire stuff, I'm seeing in it. I don't know if it's on purpose.
That's what we were talking about.
Yeah,
But I thought it worked for the movie.
It works for that reading. Yeah, it also helps that the Sentry suit is like really lame, but the Void's design is like perfection.
Yeah,
He
it's
looks
really good.
amazing.
And I think he's really menacing. When you first when he first starts disappearing people, I think that effect and just how abrupt it happens, and are not knowing if people are just being like disintegrated or if they're actually alive. It's like I thought that was more effective than the blip, honestly.
Me too.
And of course,
Yeah.
you find out pretty quickly that all those people are still alive. But at first, when you lose that little girl, it's pretty disturbing. Jason and I just looked at each other. We were like, "This got dark quick," and then. And then the fact that it is a little girl like that immediately makes you go, well, there's no way any of these people are dead. And then they're not. But I still really enjoyed that split second kind of heart skip where I'm like, well, I didn't know you guys. And then as soon as it happens, and it occurs to me that there's no way these people are dead, I'm like, well, you know that the first person they're gonna rematerialize is gonna be that girl, so you know she's not dead. And I imagine like the exact shot that they did when they bring her back. So when they brought her back, I kind of laughed out loud. I was like, "Yep, that's the shot."
That's what I was talking about earlier, where that's the moment when you know, oh, okay, they're all coming back, that this isn't permanent. Like, I can just see where it's going. But if I was a kid watching this movie, that probably would be really scary and intense, you know. So
the sound design is really scary. Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought that back up again, Robert, because it's an interesting point. There are places where the movie goes maybe a little too far for me to want it to show kids that would be young enough that that stuff would affect them, because it's you're talking about stuff like that would really disturb little kids. Yeah, so would Yelena's other self forcing a bottle of vodka down her throat. That's a little rough for kids.
I don't understand what's going on.
And she's dying of an overdose, or maybe she slit her wrist. I'm not sure which.
I think she just passed out drunk. Yeah.
Oh, see, I thought she was supposed to be dying, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I mean that could be what it is. I don't know.
But that's why that John Walker moment earlier was so effective. It's so subtle, where he's just in the void and he's just standing on that ledge, and you can like the longer he's in there, you take him step.
Oh, and the child abuse
unintentionally,
would also upset children. For obvious reasons.
Well, while we're there, I got to throw out. There is a thing with the Void where I was like, I perked up a lot, and I was like, oh man, they kept that Bob is a meth addict. That's great. I'm so glad we did that. Like, I couldn't get Tony Stark as an alcoholic, but somehow we can get the Sentry as a meth addict. And then it's kind of just played for jokes.
Yeah.
And that's like the one step back with all that stuff where I'm like, I wish we could have played that a little bit more seriously, but it doesn't like kill it or anything, but that is one place where I'm like, okay, this is just kind of comedic.
Apart from that, though, everything about the way he plays that character is so real, and I was really impressed with just how despondent they allowed him to play that. with how like, just out of touch from everyone he is, and how completely lacking in agency he is. How totally beat down by abusive parents he is, and I think it's an important distinction that it's not just generically he has a father that was abusive, but a mother that blames him for that abuse. Because you're all when you're a kid, you develop a psychosis about that, and you're already blaming yourself irrationally. And then when you have another parent that says you're just making it worse, the way he plays that is exactly how children like that grow up and what they turn into. That rang true to me and really bugged me the way it's supposed to. And again, just nice to see MCU go to, like, those kinds of things.
Yeah, there's some really good just like subtle ways we're letting the actors play with things, right? Like there's also that moment where Bucky mentions that John's family left him, and like the scene's kind of happening around them, and we just Yelena and John, where they have this little moment where they just look at each other and like yeah, like accepting knowledge. You have that with that Century scene where she walks in on him in the room, and you're absolutely right, Cap. Like he plays like a child in the best sort of way. And there's a really nice moment where she kind of realizes what's happening, and he's got this very like just zone out, like that none of that's happening below me. Like I'm up here in my fun attic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we do. Like I feel like we're finding kind of new material to mine with this, at least for the superhero genre, where we deal with bullying a lot. We deal with regret and guilt a lot. This is specifically shame, which is kind of different.
Mm-hmm.
And is also a thing that separates it real hard from Guardians or Suicide Squad.
Well,
yeah, for sure. That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, and it felt really in tune with those early post-Endgame projects, whether they were all successful or not, but they were all attempting to really be about grief and dealing with the aftermath of that with Hawkeye and WandaVision. And here, this felt very in tune with those, but still having its own subject to tackle. Like, it didn't feel too derivative of what's come before. So that I really appreciate.
I wish we could have done more of that dealing with the aftermath of the blip, but now that we're so far away from that, I guess I appreciate that this is not connected to that stuff in any way. But it also feels like it is connected to just how depressing the MCU is now.
Yeah. Well, that also helps with Yelena's arc too, that we did already cover that stuff in Hawkeye, with her getting blipped and having to deal with that and finding out that her sister was dead. And so a lot of setup for her arc here we did at least get in the Hawkeye show, and that plays okay.
And we haven't really talked about
together.
this, but it does a good job of not necessitating seeing those things. I think I think I would show this to a person that watched none of those Disney Plus shows, because I don't think this is a bad introduction to any of these characters. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but
yeah, like I think if you've watching the movies, I don't know if you've seen at least the event, and I guess Black Widow, you'll probably be fine.
Well, even
you'll
not,
get the gist of who these other people are.
Yeah, like even not seeing Walker before, I don't know that you have to. I think he's just pretty well defined in this. Like, it's obvious that we've dealt with stuff with these characters before, so you might be intimidated by the fact that there is previous material. But I think it does a good job of standing on its own. And I would also say that I think most, if not all, of the MCU movies that have dealt with Disney Plus stuff, even when they're not very good, have done an okay job at that.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, with Walker, it's like a little awkward because it's like, oh yeah, he was Captain America, and then now he's not. So like, that's a little awkward. But outside of that, and like you said, I do think it gives you a good idea of what his character is. It's that comic book thing, right? Where it's like, that's where you have the little asterisks. It's like, go read this issue. Like, this is the editor's note. Exactly. And if you read Kurt Busiek Thunderbolts, there's like 800 of them every issue because he's a giant Marvel nerd.
Well, I guess that makes the asterisks more fun, but they don't know that they're doing that, probably.
What's even better, Cap, because that's one of the only books that doesn't use an asterisk. It'll be like, oh, an Avengers villain pops up. It's the Avengers logo instead of the asterisks.
That's great. Let me read these super chats. Mr. Happy 499 thoughts on the after credit scene. We talked a little bit about this, but we haven't really broken it down yet. I thought the humor was overtly in our face, especially with Wyatt acting moronic, and it turned out the Russos directed it. Yeah, which does not bode well.
Mm-hmm. I thought the vibe was really off because I
off.
heard a lot of people saying, "Oh yeah, this has a lot of MCU humor." It doesn't land in. Yeah, I won't say every joke landed for me, but most of them did. I did like the vibe and tone of this movie, and then that after credit scene, it was just off. It was off from the rest of the movie.
See, I thought
Yeah, well, funny enough,
humor. I don't know if I would call it most of it MCU humor, and some of it that was better handled than a lot of MCU is. But I thought it was a lot more like Gun with Guardians, where it just had its own flavor of that. But sorry,
I thought it was just MCU humor dialed back to like a Winter Soldier, like a Phase 2 movie, where it's like it is very much in what these have been, but dialed back to what it used to look like as opposed to what it can be now. Ironically, because of it's the Russos who did Winter Soldier, everything's completely off. And with Walker specifically, I have the thing I have with Star-Lord in Infinity War and Endgame, where I'm like, oh, you like kind of got it, but you're like on the wrong tune, where it's like it's not fully in tune, and I'm like, oh, he's just like an idiot. Like that's kind of how they interpreted that.
And Red Guardian is really goofy throughout. Like he is the character, but not everybody's like that. So I thought it balanced fine.
Yeah, he's more so like the comedic relief, and I think Harvard does a great job with it too. Like,
he's just so endearing. He should be annoying, but he isn't. Like he yells a lot. I should hate that. There's one place where I think it's when Bucky decides to work with them, and he gets really excited and starts screaming Thunderbolts, and it's like the viewing I had today, I think, was in a theater with a sound system that was set up differently, and that part was so loud. Like when he starts yelling, it's so loud, and it should really irritate me. It just made it funnier. I was like, I need earplugs because he's so excited. And he's so endearing.
He's a happy guy.
I really like him. Yeah.
He just starts drinking vodka while he's driving.
Well, and I think part of what makes him so likable is how integral he is to bringing Yelena out of her funk. And I think it's really intelligent, just story structure wise, that the first thing that she does to cheer herself up is go to him and get the advice to try to be like Black Widow and be a hero, and then she makes the call to DeFontaine to try to get a new mission where she could be more out in front. So like we're laying the foundation immediately for she would like to be an actual superhero and get out of this life, and he is instrumental in that. And so right away we're off on a great foot with him. Because I like her, and I want her to succeed, and he's part of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think in Black Widow, like, he's more of that goofy side that you get here, and every now and then you get, like, a little bit of, like, implied pathos with him. But there's a moment with the two of them, because the whole thing in that is, like, oh, you're my dad and you don't care. And he like finally shows like, oh, you know, I remembered that you liked the song as a kid, and they have like a little moment. It's like they went, oh, that moment worked really well. Like, let's take that and like flesh it out. And that's more so what we get with him in this movie. And like I said at the beginning, like it took everything I liked in that movie and just amplified it to 11.
And it's just really smart the way how it's not just, oh, he's a dumb idiot dad character who doesn't his kid soccer team sucked and is like romanticizing more than it should. It's like, no, he actually took something of value from that with Yelena's personality of why she wanted to be the goalkeeper. Like that's something that actually matters and stuck with him, and something that he sees as a really positive quality. Like they actually think, they write it out, you know, they give thought to it. It's not just a quirk.
Well, like I said, that's the best scene of that movie. The like heart to heart. It's so beautiful. Like both of those actors play it so well.
Well, and when he has that speech on the street where he says, "I'm not good at this, and we both need each other," it, like that's really earned, because part of the reason he is so in his own funk and wayward is because he doesn't know what to do with his relationship with his daughter, and so they're both like that, partly because they don't have each other, and so they need to have that to put it back together. I also think it's the only positive father-daughter relationship you get in the MCU. I gotta think that through a little bit. But the only other one I can really think of that's developed at all is Thanos and Gamora, and Thanos and Nebula. What else?
Pym and Hope, I guess.
Oh, there's that.
Oh, Ant-Man and his daughter. I should have
that's
thought of
true.
that first before.
Iron Man and his little girl in Endgame, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
right.
also ruined Hank or Scott and his daughter by the third movie.
No, that's
They
true.
do. They do.
did.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, never mind. There are a few.
Basically,
This
it's
is a
just the
good one.
Ant-Man. It's the Ant-Man and the Red Guardian.
I'm glad they didn't make a movie.
Don't
called
make that
The
movie,
Ant-Man.
Marvel. I don't
The
want to see
Ant-Man.
that.
Brayden Atkinson says he's got to go. We've gone way too long with this. We're up to 3 hours. What else have we not talked about that you guys really want to hit real quick before we go?
Alex in the chat just said to him the movie was a commentary on post-COVID, which I think is interesting. I don't know how deliberate that is, but I think a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah, I didn't read that, but that's
themes
probably
and-
part of what would make it resonate for people, right? Isolation, feeling alone, even when like the people you care about are right across the street, you're just not actually going to deal with them. Yeah.
Are you
Centuries
depressed
made
or
in
are
a lab.
I'm sorry, Robert. You're still taking this conversation seriously. What were you saying?
But it was
No, like in the opening when she says like, or maybe I'm just bored. Like I think a lot of people have that. It's
Yeah.
during COVID, where it's like, am I depressed? Am I bored? Like I don't know what to do. What's going on? And it's also just really weird, even though these are obviously very different situations, how that 5-year blip thing in the MCU did like literally sync up with COVID for us. And these are now both events that we're past and that they're past to the MCU. I don't know. It's just really
And was an
weird to me.
idea they came up with like 2 years before COVID. It's really
Right,
bizarre.
yeah. Well, like you said, you wish the 5-year blip thing Fallout was handled better, and I agree. But also, like in universe, we're also so past it now.
Everybody's coming up with more father-daughters. I'm so dumb. Ren Davis, Hawkeye and his daughter, yes, of course.
I think they
Vulture
have like
and-
2 scenes together.
that's true, but that's in there. Vulture and his daughter, though, is a good call.
Mm-hmm. He's a great dad.
Yeah.
Those characters, Austin, actually had screen time together. Not a lot, but some.
Oh yeah, I think they also have like 1 scene together. No, they have like 2.
Yeah, but it's memorable. Like it matters.
No, it's great. It's great.
It matters.
agree.
But no, good call with COVID commentary. I would not have thought of that, but
I didn't think of that either, but that is a good
it
call.
definitely plays.
Mhm.
And I also just want to talk about the Avengers Tower thing for a minute.
Oh, I had an Avengers
just-
thing to deal with too. Yeah, go ahead.
It's really funny that it took us 7 years to find out who bought it, and that it's Elaine. Like, okay. It works for the movie, but it took us 7 years to find out.
And it is a really cool way of adapting that from the comics, but that is very strange that it took us that long to figure that out.
She also has that weird. Oh, sorry.
I still think it's strange that we haven't had an Avengers team this whole time. There's no reason at all. Zero.
Well, and I talked about this during the Brave New World review, where it's like we're inconsistent. Like characters keep talking about the Avengers like it's this nebulous, ethereal thing. Like Doctor Strange talks about it, Ant-Man talks about it. It's like, are you a team or not? Like, why
Because
couldn't
this
we?
should have been one of their first movies post Endgame.
You know what? That I'm glad you mentioned that, Austin, because you said that the other day, and I really agreed with that when I saw it. I was like, this is what we needed, partly because tonally, I just think it would have fit really nicely right after Endgame, in how bleak it feels, initially anyway, and then you've got, you know, an ostensible new Avengers team, and then we try to kind of pull that out of the ashes. And it would be like self-aware in the right way, where it's the MCU going, we just ended on a giant event that could have been the end of our universe, and we don't know if people are going to accept what we do moving forward, and so we make a big plot point out of, yeah, now we're gonna live with the B team for a while, and hopefully they come alive for you and you really like them. We don't know if they will, but also there's so much precedent for that in the early phases that it's not as risky as it sounds when, like, Guardians and Ant-Man were relatively successful. They can go, let's make movies about these characters nobody cares about, but make it a big thematic thing in the MCU, that the universe might not accept them and the public might not accept them. It would have been really nice to get that right afterwards.
Yeah, and I mean, like when I said that, it was because, you know, the comic starts with like Onslaught just happened, so the FF and Avengers are all gone, which is exactly where we are after Endgame, and the movie is picking on those threads from the comics. It's just that we're now like awkwardly far away from Endgame, and I mean, you know, part of that is, you know, real world delays and stuff, but it is just very awkward.
And it's unfortunate that the next thing's a big event. It's not just a team movie with this team. And even if this didn't get a direct sequel, if this had come out earlier, we could have at least lived with the status quo a bit longer, where like a couple of them pop up in different projects, you know,
Well,
like
John
we did when like
Kelly,
Falcon appeared in Ant-Man, you know, stuff
yeah.
like that.
Well, John Kelly says this should have been the end of Phase 4. Absolutely.
I think so too. The other weird thing about Avengers Tower, I thought it was weird in the trailer, and it's still weird in the movie, but maybe it works for the character, because I don't know what to think of MCU Elaine. It's when she says, when they get there to the tower, and she says, think of like all the amazing historic battles that happened here. And I'm like, there were two.
There were two. Yeah. What are you talking about?
There was the Chitauri invasion when it was still Stark Tower, and then the Avengers Tower Ultron fight. And does the public even know about that?
Yeah.
I went for that too. Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I needed to mention that.
Well, and this
Shut
is
up,
also a
Ryan.
thing. This is also a thing we've kind of danced around, but it's impressive that we all like this movie as well as we did, with like not an especially effective or menacing puppeteer villain, because you know the Void stuff is, of course, really scary and menacing. She's behind all of that, and there's just something off with that performance. That's the same thing I've had with all the little bits that we've had with her, where again, I keep saying this, but like on paper I kind of get it, where she's supposed to be like really unassuming, and she doesn't act like a like scary master manipulator puppeteer character, but it's her actions that make her scary. It's just something about her performance that doesn't make that effective to me, really. I get what it's supposed to be.
Well, and I mean, I liked Black Panther Wakanda Forever more than you guys did, but I also really didn't like her in that movie. But like Austin said, like, I do think this is the most I've ever liked her. I think she is used pretty well in this.
I mean, me too.
This is the best she's been used. But I get what you're
I
saying.
like her as a catalyst. Like, everything the character does works, but something's off about the performance to me.
And I think some of her jokes fall flat.
Yeah, for me, I feel like they went, oh, okay, we have, like a famous sitcom actress, and they write her like she's in a sitcom. Uh, like a lot of her bits feel like that, and they just don't work at all.
Well, I think
And
they think there's a cool juxtaposition there, where it's like,
mhm,
look how like light and almost regular person she's acting, and then that doesn't fit with all the terrible things she's doing, and that's why she's scary, and it just doesn't work.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
But like we said, I do think that this is the most I've ever liked her. It's just I'm still not there yet.
Yeah,
But her void scene was really good. I
yeah,
really
it
like that scene.
was. That's the one thing that made me think maybe there's potential for her later. Like
Mhm,
the kind of anti Amanda Waller thing has potential.
Mhm.
mhm. Yeah, and I do think she does a good job in her performance, like playing when she's supposed to be scared of him. Like I think that stuff works. It's whenever she has to be a comedy character, it just doesn't work for me.
John Kelly says this also makes her goals feel wishy-washy because last time we saw her, she was hell-bent on getting vibranium. We need her in more prominent scenes throughout the last two phases. I think that's a really fair point.
Mhm. I also
I didn't even remember
Because
that.
all I
Oh yeah,
remember
doesn't
is
she
she
start
shows.
the war between Wakanda and Atlantis? Not Atlantis.
See, all I ever remember about
Mhm.
her is she shows up and she's the evil government master manipulator. But I don't remember what she's doing.
I did like the banter between her and her assistant. Um, that character we haven't really talked about. Do you guys felt like we got enough with her at the end, or like
Not really.
because I don't know. I kind of like the idea of her having an anti-arc or a regression where for a lot of the movie it's like her and Bucky and like, oh, he's trying to guide her and make her, and then by the end she kind of becomes worse and more like Elaine. Like, I don't know if that's what they're trying to do, but I like that on paper. I don't know, I feel like we just kind of forget about her in the last
Because
10 minutes,
I
and
felt like
I
it
don't
was
know
just
what
kind
note
of
we leave
self
on.
preservation where she was just felt like she had to go wherever the wind was blowing, but she
Hmm.
really, obviously is more compassionate than DeFontaine and doesn't want to be doing all that, but feels almost like a slave to it. I just wondered why she accepted that job in the first place. Like, personality wise, she seemed like exactly the last person that would be in that role, and that I needed fleshed out.
That's
Hmm.
fair. But like the final big bit we get with her at the end is like when she asks for a raise. Like, it's not, you don't get the big I quit scene. It's
Right.
like, so again, I think that's interesting, but she's just not.
Yeah. No, I
What,
have a
fair
lot
enough.
to say about this because it's super awkward.
Okay, go for it.
Because she is the only actual Thunderbolts character in this movie, and that she is Songbird, and it's never spoken. She's never given a full name, but she has the symbol is like a little pendant on her necklace, and her name is Mel, which is Melissa Gold, her, Songbird, and sometimes we call her Mel. And the whole thing with that character is that she's very unsure of herself, and she goes from like person to person, and is kind of always looking for that like person to kind of support her in that way, and it's led her to like different abusive relationships. So we also kind of have that with her being with Elaine and then moving to Bucky, but also just everything about her is weird. Like I said to Cap, this feels in a way like the Angela thing in Spawn, where it's like, oh, there's Angela. I guess she has the earrings. It's so awkward, and the entire movie I was like, is she gonna have like the next time baby Machine and Wasp moment? Oh, I guess not. She's not even with the team at the end, which like I assumed would be a given, even if she's like their secretary or like the person that kind of works with both them and Elaine and is like the middle person, the middleman. I don't know, just everything about her is very, very strange.
No,
I
because
don't
with War
understand that.
Machine, it feels like they're simultaneously throwing a bone to fans that know who that is and promising them something, and educating the audience that doesn't know. And with this, it's such a relatively more obscure character that I don't think they're promising the audience anything. Like that's
No, and
just
the
a character
producer
that they found and they're adapting really loosely.
and the producer at the premiere was like, "That's right, it's Songbird. In the sequel, she's definitely gonna suit up." And it's like, why isn't any of this in the movie then?
But you
She's
know what
also the best character of that team.
you know what I like about it though, in the context of the MCU and not how it relates to the comics?
Mhm.
It's that in the MCU, especially in these recent phases, we can't stop introducing side characters to turn into superheroes at the end. Moon Knight, Brave New World, like we keep doing that. So it's kind of nice that we didn't do that in this movie, where she suits up and becomes part of the team at the end. Like I kind of appreciate that, but yeah, that's also a weird adaptation of the character.
Yeah,
I
because
see where you're coming
Austin,
from.
you know what it would have been more like than War
What's that?
Machine? It would have been more likely that they would have done the Ant-Man thing.
That's why
With-
I said both of them.
Oh, I
like
missed that.
kind of-
Sorry. But like the mid
No,
credits,
because they
where
have the
just,
exact same line. Yeah.
where they just open the closet. And there's her suit.
Yeah, there you go. Elaine's like, by the way, I made the suit for you.
You're going to be the 7th new Avenger.
Here's size.
Thunderbolt. I mean, new Avenger.
She opens up a door. She's like, I want you to lead a new team I have. And the door opens. And it's like Hercules, Clea. It's
I'm
like
I'm
every
uniting
character.
the 7.
Yeah, with Pip the Troll and Star Fox,
You know what? I wish Jayson was here for this.
Black Knight.
You know what? You know what blew Jason's mind?
Hmm.
And he caught it before I did. In the magazine covers at the end, they did the Justice League one. That was crazy.
I think I missed that.
That's got, I can't remember if it was Red Guardian or who was in the middle in the pose with like the arms over them, but it was that poster with the
Oh, you're talking about
Justice
the
League
Queen
heads.
one. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I know what you're
Oh,
talking about.
oh, okay. Yeah, I saw that. I think I had what Austin did. I think I saw it as a Queen reference.
Oh, I
more
guess-
than I saw
okay.
it as
Well, I think it is
Justice
supposed to be
League.
Queen, but also at the same time, that Justice League poster is probably also homaging that
I didn't.
Queen.
Right.
Okay, I didn't pick up on that. I thought it was just Justice League. I had the
art-
same thing Jason did. I thought it was just doing Justice League, and I was like, that's weird that MCU would be referencing something from DCEU, especially this late. But I think you're right. I think that's all they're doing. They probably didn't even think of that.
I mean, they could have. They've definitely made things that have like commented on that stuff.
I'm sorry we're so late. There was one more thing I wanted to ask you guys about. I don't know if there's an intended like parallel with the new Avengers team and the original Avengers team in that you've got to have like stand-ins for everybody, but because they went with 6 by the end, I'm always kind of looking for that, and I feel like I can do analogs for most of them, but there is no Hawkeye and there are 3 Captain Americas. So it makes it very difficult. But you have, it's like, first of all, who do you put in the role of Captain America? Because you have 3 people that are kind of Captain Americas. I feel like Bucky is the easiest one to do it with because he's sort of the leader mentor character, except that even by the after credit scene, I kind of feel like the real leader is Yelena, but she is Black Widow because she's Black Widow. So I don't know if you can do it with everybody. Like you've got. Sorry, go ahead, Robert.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Hawkeye because if Taskmaster lived, that would be your Hawkeye character because she has a bow and arrow and stuff.
Right.
And in the trailer, there's a shot of Ghost using her bow and arrow, but I don't think that's in the movie. So
I
you
don't
just
think
made
it
me
is
think of
either.
that.
Okay.
Like Taskmaster could have been your Hawkeye character.
Well, in terms of like your actual team structure,
Yeah.
Bucky's probably your Cap and Yelena's your Iron Man, and that Yelena's like your main one, but Bucky's probably the leader. Like that's kind of the sense I get when they interact at the end.
I guess Ghost would be the closest thing you'd get to a Hawkeye. and this is as much team structure like you're talking about, Austin. That's maybe easier to do, but she is well, no, because she's an ex-Shield agent, so she would be like another. Oh no, that yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Sorry, she'd be the closest thing to a Hawkeye because at least she was a Shield agent, and you don't have another one of those. And then but she's also sort of in Iron Man in that she needs her suit to keep her alive. So like you kind of have that. So like there's different ways to turn these characters into analogs. You've got with Sentry Hulk and Thor simultaneously. Because he's got his dark monster side, but he's the god character.
And Red Guardian is like new Thor if he worked.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Okay, well then you can have that, and then you can say Sentry is Hulk, because like Sentry even at the end is kind of just standing around like scared Void's gonna come out, which is exactly what early Bruce Banner was doing.
We've got the pathos that we never gave Hulk.
Exactly.
Even down to the like child abuse stuff.
Yeah.
But that's all I wanted to say with that, is just you can kind of do analogs, but it's not perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't need to be perfect either. I just think that's fun to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I also just want to keep laughing at the fact that this team has 3 Captain Americas.
And all better than the actual new Captain America.
Yeah.
And the only one of the 4 that has... the only one of the 4 that is Captain America is also the only one that's not a super soldier.
Well, of course, Bucky's the one that a lot of people wanted to actually be Captain America, and we're kind of casting him as the Cap for that team. But then you've got the anti-Captain America with John Walker, and then Red Guardian is the Russian Captain America. So that is 3 of your 6.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
and in
good
the
night,
comics,
everybody.
one of them is like an Ant-Man that was once Goliath, and Ghost was raised by Goliath. And then Bucky is the Hawkeye.
Hawkeye was almost in this movie too. And
He was?
Really, he's not, because they were going to do some kind of subplot with him being chased by somebody. I can't remember what that was.
Oh, weird.
But yeah, and then that's weird because he is a Thunderbolts character.
Mm-hmm.
I also wonder if Renner's accident was a factor in him getting cut. I don't know.
That's not the sense I got from what I read. I think that would have happened anyway. But I think that decision was maybe made. Well, I was going to say before that happened. I'm not sure.
Well, given that the actress said that they were working on it and then COVID delayed them, like maybe.
Yeah, I wasn't sure
It
what
could have been
timeline.
before.
I couldn't remember how far back that went. Because in my mind, it wasn't that long ago, but I was just at a Barnes & Noble the other day, and Jeremy Renner's already written a book about it, so I'm like, how long has it been?
Speaking of characters who could have been in this movie, can I have my rant, Cap?
Oh, yes, absolutely, Austin. I'm sorry. We'll end with this. God, how do we do 3.5 hours on this?
Oh, before I end with that, then I'll throw out my one last point about the actual movie, which is that I think it's really cool with John Walker that he's the one that calls Bob Bobby, which is what his abusive father called him, which is why they have like a rivalry thing going on. And then he's the one that ultimately punches out the dad when they get into that room in the Void. And his whole Void is being a neglectful father. But
Oh,
I had to throw that out there before we finish.
I missed that. Good call.
Great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just great stuff. But anyways, on to the more important thing, my rant, which is that the director said that when he pitched this film, part of his pitch had Man-Thing in it, and Marvel said no because he was going to be in a new project called Werewolf by Night, where he is in no way like Man-Thing, and this movie is so built for that character, and that it is a character entirely based around emotion and emotional response, and just being around a person and feeling their emotion, and that becomes his personality because he like basically imprints their emotional state onto himself. And Marvel said no because they wanted him to be the cute, funny animal character homage that felt like nobody had ever seen a movie before. And I'm forever going to be angry about this.
I mean, you should be. I'm not even a Man-Thing fan, and that pisses me off.
It's like, because it's not, like, this type of thing isn't necessarily what I want for that character, but what this movie is so perfect for that character that you're telling me I could have had that instead?
Well, and then they easily could have done something else with him after that. Like, it wouldn't have been a bad
Yeah, exactly. You
introduction to
then
that
could have gone
character.
off and done something else.
Yeah, like, I'm not sure, because what I read was he would have been a member of the team, and I could have almost seen they're using him in a villainous role. Like,
Well, what I imagine is you just take that base that they go to, move it out of the desert into like the swamp kind of area, and then when they're on the end up like stumbling into this creature. Was what I imagined, but
yeah.
who knows?
Yeah, I don't know if you would have wanted to try to make him the big bad of the thing, but I could kind of see that.
Hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't have wanted that, but him being in this and him being one of the ones that comes to help Sentry get off of the void at the end would have been so good.
It would have been funny to see him in the void. Like, would it even make sense for Man-Thing to have a shame room? Like, I don't even think you could do it.
But you could have done something where he like pops into the void, and like that's where you get the Ted Salas stuff. And
Yeah.
up to that point, you have no idea of like if this thing is even a person.
Oh,
And
there
then
you go.
And then you see his origin in the shame room. That would have been amazing.
That would have been good. Super Billy, $5 super chat. What do you think Sam's Avengers lineup will be?
Infinitely worse than this one.
At least in terms of ones we know about, I think it's at least going to be him, New Falcon, and Ant-Man, Paul Rudd. It's going to be at least those three, and maybe a couple others.
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, Bruce Banner, and Captain Marvel. There you go.
So I don't agree with Bruce Banner. I don't think that'll happen.
I only say that because he was in the Shang-Chi after credits scene with Captain Marvel.
Why do you remember that? Why would you want
also,
I don't know why.
Yeah, why do you remember that? That after credit scene was also setting up stuff for Kang.
Yeah. You know, you gotta let out we're doing a 3.5 hour marathon discussion on this movie, and I'm shaming Robert for remembering things about these movies.
No, I'm just saying, I'll be surprised if Mark. But
These
I'll be
shows are for
surprised.
being angry about Man-Thing, goddammit, not about remembering things in the MCU, Robert.
I was like, I had to wait 3 hours and 20 minutes to get to that. You keep your after credits nonsense out of this.
I was answering a super chat question.
Yeah, I don't know about Bruce Banner. I think it's gotta be mostly like a Young Avengers thing. You've got all these younger characters that we haven't done very much with, and I also would not put it past them to have it be Sam Wilson and an almost entirely female team. You've got all these female superheroes that we've not put on a team yet. And that's also partly just wishful thinking on my part, because...
Yeah, I don't think it'll be that. I think it will definitely have New Falcon and Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi. Stupid.
Well, and Ant-Man definitely, because Ant-Man for sure, I think.
Yeah, I think those four are like a lock-in. I agree with Cap. I don't know if Bruce Banner will be there or not. I could say that either way.
I'll just be
but I think
surprised
those
if he's
four
not
are like
the
locked
movie.
in. Oh, probably Thor will probably be there.
Yeah.
But it's just really weird if we never put Kate Bishop on a team. And...
I mean, they keep trying to make champions happen.
That might happen after Secret Wars.
Or maybe they'll
I could see them making
awkwardly...
that team in that movie.
I was gonna say
Also-
maybe they'll awkwardly act like that they've actually been around doing things for a while and we've just never heard about them, because
Yeah.
those characters aren't doing anything right now. There's no reason you couldn't say that. I also think that if the Marvels had been successful, the landscape of this looks totally different. I think I would be more likely to be right about this if that movie had succeeded, because they're not gonna be in a hurry to put new Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel in stuff. But if it hadn't been for that, I think you would have had a Young Avengers team that had Miss Marvel on it and Kate Bishop and obviously I want
America Chavez.
Well, what
Well,
it'll be is we'll have like the Young Avengers team with all of the like young people they've set up.
and Shuri
Yeah.
would be there too.
Well, we have our new Avengers team, and we have our Sam Wilson. Just I don't know. We'll just call them the West Coast Avengers, just because whatever. We'll call them that for now. And so we'll have like 3 separate Avengers teams in Doomsday, and then the X-Men will have a line where they're like, "Oh, you guys have so many Avengers teams, like you have the same name," and then by the end of the movie, the young ones will become the champions, and then they will go back to being called the Thunderbolts, and then we'll just have the Avengers.
And then
They're
they'll make champions asterisk, and then the end of the movie will be Young Avengers, and then
No,
they'll
it'll be
spoil it
Rip-
a week after, and everybody will be like, "But I mean, duh."
No, it'll be champions asterisk, and then you peel it off, and it just says, "See, nobody cares."
John Kelly says, "Don't forget Riri Williams." Why wouldn't I forget Riri?
That should be in champions.
I'm more annoyed that you expect me to remember Riri Williams than I am at Robert for remembering the Hulk after credits thing with Shang-Chi. Is that I don't even remember that scene. I think he said Shang-Chi. I don't know. All I remember is the 10 rings will return. That's all I remember.
They haven't brought Girl Boss Mandarin back.
Nope.
No, and they promised that. Like, how dare you? That's so important.
What I was
Said no
trying
one.
to say. But they are still talking about doing Hawkeye season 2, and that might just be Haley Steinfeld, Kate Bishop.
Yeah.
If Renner doesn't come
Well,
back
he
for
ain't
that.
he ain't coming back for that.
So I think we are getting Hawkeye season 2, and they also might throw Miss Marvel in that.
There was also talk
sure.
a little bit ago about them putting together a Champions TV show, but I mean, we'll see.
That should be a movie. That's a mistake.
At this point, though, I think it would be a movie. It probably won't come till after Secret Wars, but yeah, I think they'd make that a movie over a show with how Disney Plus has worked out.
But then a lot of those, I mean, I guess you can say the same thing about this movie, but then like a lot of those characters aren't ones that like the audience really took to, and then you're making a movie about all of them. But that's also this, I guess. So
Haley Steinfeld does have star power, though. You know.
that is true. It'll be just her and the champions. That'll be
Right.
the title.
And she's great.
Hawkeye and the
she
Champ.
needs to get to do things. But yeah, there's no way Renner does that show now because he has complained that they only offered him half of his salary from the first show. So I don't think that's gonna happen now.
Yeah, probably not.
All right, well, guys, we gotta get going. I'm gonna fall asleep just sitting here.
I'm falling asleep just at the mention of Shang-Chi.
Yeah, what are you
Boo,
doing?
Robert.
Yeah, what are you doing, Robert?
Don't invoke that name in front of me, sir. We're talking about good Marvel.
Everybody, thanks a lot for watching. We sure appreciate it. And we'll be back with more stuff later this week. Austin and I are going to do a... why are we doing this the same week we just did this long of a how we felt about? But we're doing Captain America Civil War on Thursday. If I can pick my brain up off the floor. And then... and Captain Logan show on Wednesday, and Wednesday, and then on Saturday, John and I are finally starting or doing the first half of Smallville season 7. So I'm gonna be streaming a lot this week. Anyway, yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you again real soon. I was Captain Logan. We had Austin the Day Ghost.
Oh, have a good night, everybody.
And we had Robert Wild.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.